everybody, Joe again. We're going to do some more session prep. We're going to look over what we did in the last session. We played a week ago last Saturday. We're going to take a look at that, go over what went well, what didn't go well, what I need to change. And as usual, I underestimated how long things would take. So we'll talk about that a little bit, see what the players spent time doing and how I kind of feel about that and what I think I should do going forward to address that sort of thing. And then I have some ideas. I sort of look at the next session, basically, what I thought would happen last session and how I can stretch it into a full session, make sure I fill up the full 3 hours next time. And then if we have time after that, we can go over. I want to knock out that first island we talked about. It's like Circe's Island. I want to go ahead and just get that done. I think I got most of the stuff ready in my mind. I just got to finalize some of the maps. And then we can start talking about some of the other early islands in the Odyssey-style campaign that's going to open up after this is all done. So, no beers today. I ran out. I have to run to the liquor store, but water for tonight. And let's just jump right into it. So, I'm going to play music. Again, I bought a bunch of stuff, and now I have this Will Savino pack. I subscribed on Patreon. I got, like, hundreds of songs from him. So I'm just going to play them on all the ones I have on, like, shuffle. And if something jumps out and kind of catches my ear, I will take a look at it and see if it's something I want to use for a future encounter. So the background music will be randomized. Alright, so we started this session here back in Thaeth. And essentially the session before the one we just played, the players had conquered the town and they had talked to the elves. They exiled the mayor, which is one of the big things we talked about in the previous two prep session things. They exiled the mayor and half of the town. And then they kind of just, dealt with the realities of just having conquered a town. They were talking to the elves there. They argued with the mayor a bunch, eventually exiled her. And then Opilius came back. These halflings came back. And then, Opilius started talking to the goblins there. Hey, what the heck happened here? Why are all these elves, rounded up in this gazebo? What happened? Explain this to me. And the party basically explained, we beat these champions. We figured that if we beat these people, we could get them to surrender. They did not mention the fishermen. They did not mention that they were told this by some weird sage-like elf who said if you do this, the mayor will surrender. They did that, and the mayor did. They didn't tell Opilius that, though, and they said, hey, we beat these champions, and we made them surrender. We demanded they surrender. And Opilius was kind of taken back a bit, but he was okay with that. And then, through some light roleplay that we did there, they came to find out that Opilius, he didn't want to genocide the elves, basically. On the way over, he kind of made a big deal about otherizing the elves and making it so that when it came time to have combat against them, the goblins and the other members of the troop weren't going to think of them as people. They wanted to basically just kill them. They'll kill you, so you got to kill them. They'll slit your throat like a pig, so don't even hesitate when you get there. And then once the city was actually taken, after, the slaughter on the docks and moving through the woods and stuff like that, after it was taken, Opilius showed his truer side, which I guess the troops might have known, the ones that have been there for longer. It's that he's not a genocidal maniac. He's not here to slaughter all the elves. He's here to build something usable for the human kingdom, and that may come with working with the elves. The human kingdom, I keep calling it the human kingdom. It's Voros. They're not just a human kingdom. It's like a human king. But he has kind of integrated dwarves and gnomes and halflings and even goblins into his kingdom. And that's why they're all here. That's why they all came on this boat. That's why they're all attacking the city together. They have the multi-ancestry society set up over there. So Opilius has that sort of spirit in him that he's going there and he's conquering tribes, or, he did that in the human kingdoms. And when it came down to it, though, he didn't slaughter them. He didn't kill every gnome in a village after taking it over. He tried his best to integrate them, and even took some of the warriors, any of the surviving warriors, and integrated them into his troop. And was surprisingly effective at this. I wrote it up that he has, like, this amazing, charismatic, almost like a fervor, like a zealotry. Like, people see how devoted he is to all these things, and how truthful and forthwith he is. And they kind of, they glom onto him. They join his cause. So anyway, he changed tack and said, hey, you know what, we're not going to genocide these elves. There was some role-playing and some infighting with the other NPCs, but eventually they all came to terms with it, and like I said, they exiled the mayor. The mayor was causing a problem. She didn't like that the humans were going to be taking control of the city. The mayor had surrendered to the goblins, which she believes are fae, because they don't know what goblins are, and they assume there's some sort of gremlin, some sort of fae-adjacent thing. And there's some history that I haven't really explained and haven't really thought out or written out. I just kind of imply that there's a history between the elves and the Fae, that the elves are comfortable dealing with the Fae in ways they're not comfortable with dealing the other races in the world that they consider lesser. The elves have their big empire that's lasted thousands of years, and they don't think the humans or anything else are capable of creating empires. They've basically pushed everybody else out of their empire and built like an elf-only empire. So when the goblins started talking to Apilius and were deferential and saluting him or doing whatever else they did during the role-playing scenes, the mayor got really pissed off and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, they exiled her, blah, blah, blah. So we jump ahead, and the big question in the last one was, what the hell do we do with the mayor? And we came up with the idea that we'd have her involved either at the beginning or the end of the chase, was what we decided. And it ended up not happening because we didn't even get to the chase. So we picked up that session, and we basically did a bunch of role-playing in the town. And what I wanted to do was, I jumped forward like 2 weeks. So they conquered the town, we had that whole thing we just talked about, and then 2 weeks happened. And I wrote about a bunch of narration stuff, which basically said, during the first week of the occupation, things were very peaceful. Basically, the elves are cowed. The ones that chose to stay, because half of the town left, remember. The ones that chose to stay are either very religious and following the priest of Serenre, who is urging them to be calm and to listen to the occupiers. Or they're just like, they're docile. They're just waiting for this to be over. Some of them even asked the goblins, two of which speak Elven, hey, when are you leaving? Like, what is this? Why are you here, and when are you leaving? And Squirrel did his best to basically reinforce this idea that there is some great darkness happening, and we are here to stop it. We are here to see this through and to make sure that the great darkness does not spread to this land, and then we will go at some point in the future. Very vague, but he was very convincing, and the priest kind of played into that, either accepting what he said as the truth or kind of just using it to calm down the flock. He said, he's a priest of Serenre, so darkness and light are a really big deal to him. So he was very apt to jump in on that and said, if there is this darkness, then maybe it is the lady's will, blah, blah, blah. So the elves in the town are docile and nice. Well, not nice. Most of them just are reluctantly accepting the situation. But some are actually helpful. Like, there's a smith there if they need smithy work. The alchemist may even have made them some potions. But in general, they're just kind of dealing with it and waiting for it to be over. And during the first week, we had a couple of role-playing scenes where I think this was mostly Bijo's idea. He came in last prep session and we talked a bit. And he came up with some ideas like, hey, you could have the elves come up to them with grievances, basically. Like, the person who runs the tavern or whatever, or the inn, whoever's like feeding the town, comes in and says, hey, the dwarves are eating too much. Blah, blah, blah. So I went with that, and I came up with 3. Let me see, I can actually pull up my notes if I have it. Let me see. Do I have session 6 open? I do. Alright, so I'll just pull up some notes. And you can see I fleshed out a lot of, like, words. So I don't like to write paragraphs. I ended up writing some, but I don't like to do that. I like to basically just be reading all the time. That's not my style. I like to do bullet points and kind of go with stuff. But these are the ideas I came up with, the grievances I came up with after talking to Bijo. So the first one was basically the dwarves eat twice as much as anybody else, and they're demanding fresh meat. They're not eating, they're not eating jerky, they're not eating dried fruit or vegetables or anything like that. They're basically demanding we slaughter cows and pigs every day for them to eat. And they're eating a ton. And it's not tenable. The farmers are getting pissed off because we're killing all their livestock, so it's not going to happen. So basically, they came to Even, who they've seen work with the dwarves, and maybe Even also is one of the ones that they did. But Even wasn't playing that day. Even didn't show up to the last session. He just had a baby. His baby is like a week and a half old now. So he skipped that session, and since Even can't speak Elven either, I said Squirrel, he comes to you and drags you into the conversation and uses you as a proxy, and basically Squirrel's making the decisions for Even at this point. So basically, the idea was, how are you going to deal with this? Are you going to talk to the dwarves? Are you going to talk to Apilius? What are you going to do? Or do you want to, appeal to Auric, using Even as kind of a bridge there? Because Even and Auric have, backstory together. Auric came from Even's backstory, and we kind of wrote him into the troop. And the long story short is, you have to try to get them to eat these dried meats or the fruits and grains that are available. How are you going to do that? And they decided to go to Apilius. He bumbled a diplomacy check, but role-played enough that I gave it to him. And basically, we played it off like Opilius didn't understand why this was a problem and why you just tell the elves to shut up. But Squirrel came back around and said, no, this is very serious. This is bigger than you think, and roleplayed his way through it. And then, yeah, so basically Opilius went to Auric and got the dwarves in line. So that was pretty easy, that was fun. And basically what these are is I wanted to just have the passing, like I said, we're doing 2 weeks, and this is the first week. I wanted to have it be, I was mostly just narrating what happened, but also give them some chance to roleplay a little bit, and then throw some dice as well. So we did that, we had that happen. And then I had a random lady in town approach Franco, who doesn't speak Elven. And basically, the lady came up and was talking to him, he didn't understand, and then he started miming like, hey, I don't understand you, what are you trying to say? And she would mime back that one of the halflings, Gisela, basically has stolen a bunch of jewelry. And this is an occupation, obviously this is going to happen, people are stealing all kinds of things. But, through miming, they mimed back and forth, and they made bluff checks to kind of talk to each other. But Franco got the message that this lady really wanted her necklace back, at the least. And Gisela did not want to give it back. I have some lines here like, fuck her, she and all these other elves are lucky that Opilius left them alive. Anything we find in these shacks is ours. We roleplayed a little bit back and forth, but the big thing was Franco was keen to get this done. He was willing to pay for it. So he asked what it would take to get it. She said 2 gold, which was like astronomically high for what they were getting. Like you would not pay 2 gold for basically a shell on a leather strap, a seashell on a leather strap. So they negotiated a bit, and they got down to 1 gold, and he paid it. He ate a gold, and gave it to her, and she gave it back. And then he went back, gave it back to Gisela, and everything was great. They're kind of just smoothing over all these tiny little bumps. And I basically had told him that Opilius put Squirrel and G-Pain and this NPC named Orin, who are the ones that can speak Elven, in charge of basically sussing out issues as they came up, kind of gauging the temperature of the elves in town, and letting him know when things are going on. So I had these sort of wrinkles come up, and they got to talk to Opilius about them. They got to do all this role-playing, kind of just smooth out the bumps and make the occupation good. So that happened. And then after this went on, we had Fumbar showed up. It was his second time playing, and that's my friend Jeff with the J is playing Fumbar, and he's an alchemist. I think he just took the iconic alchemist named Fumbis and made Fumbar, just kind of real direct knockoff of it. I think he actually just took the stats and tweaked them a little bit. But yeah, so he said, did I see that? Did I see that whole interaction with the elf and Franco with the necklace? And I had him roll, and he did. He rolled high enough. So he ran up, and he decided he was just going to throw mud at the elf. The elf had put on the necklace, and he was just going to, like, lob a ball of mud at the lady's chest. And I was like, okay. And we rolled, and sure enough, he got there. He got there. He's a bomber. He's good at throwing things. So he lobbed some mud and nailed her right on the necklace. And I said, okay, so she turns around to you in shock. What do you say? And he basically just, like, stuck his tongue out and ran away. So, I mean, that's kind of how Jeff's always played role-playing games, and I guess that's the way he's going with Fumbar. It was just kind of silly, and a lot of the other players were like, causing a bit of a problem after we're smoothing things over. But again, it wasn't like he didn't hurt anybody, he didn't do anything, so it was a weird thing that happened, and I'm kind of playing it off as the elves think the goblins, who again they think are Fae, are weird. So it's kind of in their head, they're like, this is strange, they're mischievous, sometimes they do these weird things. So they kind of wrote it off, but she was in shock and just weirded out. And that is not the only weird thing Fumbar would do during the session. So I also had this other one, I had this third one that we didn't actually do, because I was realizing that this was going on longer than I wanted to. There was another thing that happened, but I'll go into that in a second. But basically, I realized we were running out of time, so the other idea I had was that Opilius was ordering defenses and palisades being built around the whole town, like in certain places, like maybe here and stuff like that, to kind of defend if the elves launched a counterattack. And I was going to have it that they were basically, logging nearby trees just because they were the closest ones, and the elves would be very upset because they bury their dead that way. They go ahead and they sprinkle their ashes, they mix them in with the dirt, and in their elf traditions, they are the ashes are feeding the trees and they're becoming part of it, blah blah blah. So I was going to have this, hey, you're doing this and you're really messing up one of our rituals. I was going to have this be a very serious thing. And I was going to see how the party dealt with that. And basically the solution would be to have them come down here and log down here where they don't bury their dead, or to go far enough north that you're away from the forest they consider sacred. And then, if you're down here, you got to deal with bringing heavy logs up these stairs somehow, either with pulleys or walking them. And if you're going to the north, you can put them in the river and kind of move them down. And I wanted to make it clear that it wasn't impossible this request was, not impossible to deal with, but it's definitely going to make things harder and more annoying, and more difficult to move the lumber. So we didn't get to do that one. That was pretty much it. So I skipped it because we were running out of time. I had time boxings. When we talked with Bijo last time, we were trying to make 4 scenes. There was going to be this role-playing in town, covering the 2 weeks. There was going to be the guerrilla fight, the woodland chase, and then the fight at the water temple. And we figured 4 scenes, 45 minutes each. We play for 3 hours. That's how we were going to do it. So I said, okay, so I'll time box it, and I'll figure out how it feels. And while we were role-playing all this stuff, I realized we were already, way over. So, by the time I finished those 2 things, we were already, almost at, I think, maybe 50 minutes. We were already over my 45. And we hadn't even gotten to, the second week that I was going to be talking about. So I realized we were going over, and I kind of just accepted that. I sped things along when I could, and like I said, I skipped that one thing. So I skipped things when I had the chance, but we were still behind where we wanted to be. In addition to that, the players wanted to be players. They wanted to play the game. Who would have thought? So while I was doing this narration, Puck jumped in and basically said that he wanted to open up a barber shop. He said, is there a barber in town? And I said, no, the elves oddly don't have a barber. They all just grow their hair really long and really straight. So Puck set up shop in the gazebo during non-prayer times. And I think the first one he kind of forced into it. He tried to coax somebody over. He didn't speak Elvish, so he was miming. And I think he scared her a little bit. But because, they're the occupiers and they're the ones in charge, he kind of just said, okay, so let me just do this real quick. And he started cutting her hair. And she didn't resist. She didn't like it, but she didn't resist. And at the end of it, he made a good roll. He used the hero point on his lore check, basically. Because we couldn't figure out how the profession worked off the top of my head. I think... he's got surgery lore or something like that as part of his. He's a barber, and one of the skills it gives you is surgery lore. And I ruled that would be surgery and barbery, because barber surgeons were a thing back in the day. So we figured, okay, he made a surgery lore check and he rolled really poorly, and then decided, you know what, I'm gonna hero point it. I'm gonna waste my hero point I start with to make a really good haircut. And he did. He succeeded, and it was a non-traditional. I think he said it was a wave. It was a non-traditional elven haircut, but the lady was not super pissed off about it. She was reluctant to go into it, but once she had the haircut, she was okay with it. And it drew enough attention that these people who are basically being under house arrest, some of them came out and got haircuts. Not a whole lot. No one was banging down the door. There wasn't a line around the gazebo, but enough that, Puck got to do that a little bit. Similarly, Franco, who is a braggart swashbuckler, he wanted to set up some plays, basically. He wanted to do either singing or dancing and start writing a play. And Gerhardt, who wasn't playing that night, he is a bard. Everybody's goblins, by the way, if you're new to the adventure, everybody's goblins. Basically, they have this captive audience, literally, a captive audience that is stuck in this town with nothing to do. So Franco just kind of assumed G-Pain would be okay with it, and later on Discord, he agreed. So G-Pain and Franco were singing and doing some light acting, and Franco started writing a play about the darkness, trying to basically explain to the elves what they're doing here, what's going on. And then he and G-Pain are going to go do this. So I had to make some performance checks. They rolled very well. So not only did they have a captive audience that was literally forced to watch them, they were, they performed well enough, and then, people were happy with what they were seeing. So that happened, and I said, okay, fine, you can write your play, figure out what you want to do. We'll do that on Discord. And they asked if anybody wanted to volunteer to be there, and I rolled some dice and came up with 2 people. There was a poet that was willing to be in the play, and there was a dancer who hasn't done any acting but is willing to dance. And I stressed again that the elves in their 1,000-year-old empire, they've kind of they've grown soft. They're not conquering anybody anymore. They don't have huge militaries anymore. And they've noticed that in the way that they're guarding their towns. They don't really consider anything a threat. But they're very big on like finding their passion in life and pursuing it. And the fact that they found a poet and a dancer is a big deal. Like, then they're allowing them to explore their passions even while during this occupation. That's really cool for them. So I gave them this hook, and we'll see if that actually goes anywhere. I haven't thought much about it. We'll have to see how the play goes, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so we did all that role playing, and that was essentially the first week, like we talked about. And then I said I was going to give a hero point this week, so I put up a poll in the Twitch channel, and basically said, who do you think did the best role playing during the scene? Vote, and Franco won. So Franco got an extra hero point. And I'm putting this note now in my my session prep things, because like I said before in the previous sessions, I'm really bad at remembering to give hero points. Because again, in my Pathfinder 1 mind that I've been playing for so long, hero points are so super, like, very powerful, and they persist between games, so I was really stingy with giving them out. I would give one out at the end of the session, and then that was pretty much it. I didn't really give them out during the session, unless something was really, really amazing. But in Pathfinder 2, you're supposed to give them out more. They're not as important. You know, you re-roll d20, or you stop yourself from bleeding to death. So you're supposed to give them out more, and I just forget. So I started putting these notes in my these lines in my notes saying like, hey idiot, give out a hero point if you haven't. And I'm trying to do the polls. If enough people are paying attention, I'll do a poll, and if not, I'll just give one out if something cool happens along the way. But yeah, that's a little note for myself. And then there's this whole blah about how the second week wasn't harmonious, blah, blah, blah. We don't have to go into all of it. You can watch the session if you want. But basically, the wood elves have come out of the woodwork and have started assassinating people. Basically, people on a patrol, and the wood elves jump them, and they just do these hit-and-run skirmish tactics, boom, 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 and they're killing people left and right. And I made a note that the people who were brutal, like the monstrous people that we talked about in other session prep things, like the halfling that plucked out the eyes of some of the people, a dwarf that was wearing one of the elfier necklaces, the people that were doing all these macabre, gruesome trophies, they were being slaughtered consistently, but other people were also dying in the attack. It wasn't like they were only killing the gruesome people, but whenever there was a gruesome person around in an ambush, they were targeted first, and severely. And they were also being met with the same thing, like the person who plucked out the eyes had arrows in both of his eyes. The dwarf that had the elfir necklace, they found her body. She was shot in the neck, but her ears were removed and were wrapped in a note and stuff like that. So basically, I made it clear that, like, hey, the elves know what you did here. They know the monstrous things that the party didn't do, but the party's allies did. And I had, like, a note involved that, you know, where every one of the horrors of your kind visited upon us, our brothers and sisters, blah, 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 will be repaid. So, basically, I gave them this whole idea that these wood elves are serious business, and I've stressed that in previous sessions, too. Basically, the NPCs that came through into the town all had these harrowing experiences that they moved through the woods, and the party didn't. They followed a road, so they were kind of away from the wood elves. But all the other NPCs that got there that had dealt with the wood elves had, you know, lost people or had bloody battles in the woods with these wood elves. So I stressed over and over again, these guys are serious business, and then now during the second week, it's happening again. They're coming for us. And they're attacking us on patrols. Sometimes they're attacking like our guard posts in the town, so nowhere is safe. So I'm stressing how bad this is and how during the second week people are dying. And so only 60 people came, and 15 are dead, including the people that died in the beginning and the people that died during this week. So only 45 of the troops remain. And then I did this again. I'm narrating a lot of this, and I don't want to dominate the session. I'm trying to just move through this because I want to move to the Odyssey part. I want to get to the part I actually want to do. But I'm just narrating this, essentially saying that, hey, there's a lot of tension in town now. Things are beginning to boil over. And oddly enough, for whatever reason, the goblins haven't encountered any wood elves. Like, when they're out on a patrol, they don't get jumped. When they're on guard, they don't get attacked. And people are beginning to talk about that. So it might just be because, they weren't gruesome people. They weren't burning down fields. They weren't gouging out eyes or cutting off ears. Or it could just be dumb luck. Or it could be that the elves think they're fey and don't want to attack them. So no one knows for sure, but it was this odd thing where, like, over the course of these 2 weeks, you never had a problem. And then because that's happened and a bunch of people are dying and tensions are rising and the elves in the town, they were questioned and they have no part of it. Like they Apilius and the others believe that the elves in the town were not working with the wood elf guerrillas. The humans and other people in the troop begin to wonder out loud, grumbling, are the goblins working with the elves? Have they made some sort of a deal? Why aren't they being attacked? What did Franco say to the mayor when he let her go? Blah, 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 blah. What's going on here? So they made some perception checks, and I think Puck and I forget who it was, but I believe it was Puck and Fumbar heard these rumblings before they got loud enough to reach Apilius, and they told the party, and the party kind of jumped in and said, we got to do something about this. They didn't fight back, they didn't argue, but they said, we got to do something about this. We got to make sure that, you know, they don't think it's us. Like when things get really bad, they don't turn on us first. So they started to come to the idea that they would volunteer to go on a patrol to find some wood elves. That they would basically go out and like volunteer to be the first ones out there. And it was hilarious because that's what I was writing here. I basically came to the idea that Apilius would, based on these rumors and like the actual threat of a mutiny that it provided, that he would order the goblins to be among the first people sent out to a patrol into the woods, which lots of people consider to be suicide. Like if you're going to fight the wood elves in the woods, it's going to be a suicide run. So I wrote up this whole thing about how the rumors swirl, and Apilius is sweating like publicly. Like this is not tenable. We lost 15 people in 2 weeks. If this keeps up, eventually the wood elves are going to pick us off one by one until they're confident taking the entire town back. So we have to go out into the woods. And they blah, blah, blah. He was going to force the goblins to go first. But the goblins volunteered. The goblins said, let's go to Apilius and tell him that we want to do this. So that saved me time. We were already over where I wanted to be. And then that saved me time because they got to the place I wanted them to be without me actually pushing them there, which was great. All right. So they went to Apilius. We had a quick role-playing scene where they were like, hey, yeah, we think we need to get out of here. We think we need to strike back. And Apilius was like, that's great. That's exactly what I was thinking. Squirrel, you're a mastermind. I knew it when we talked on the docks before. And him and Squirrel have a bit of a history. Basically, you know, Squirrel is on top of things. He's doing a lot of scouting. He's providing intel. He's been very tactically minded, and Apilius has liked that. So, you know, it's only been, like, you know, a week, 2 weeks of time, but he's already seen Squirrel as, you know, one of the smarter goblins. One of the more tactically minded goblins. And he's like, yeah, if you're volunteering, sure, go out. This is the intel I have. What do you have? And they didn't mention the fishermen, but they said that they had some information. They think it was to the south. And Apilius gave them whatever little thing he had, and yeah, so they headed to the south, and they were basically just going around looking for wood elves. Which was perfect. And then I had some notes about leaving town. So the Goodberry tree was over here. They didn't make use of it in previous sessions, really. And I basically hand-waved some stuff. Basically, over the past 2 weeks, they would have had experience with it, either directly, or others in the troop would have been eating them. And they learned that they do work like Goodberries. They heal. I think it's like 2d4 plus something, so it's a decent heal. They also learned that there were Badberries. So I was hoping that this would be something of a surprise. I think like Even had picked a Badberry, and I was gonna make it important. I was gonna make it so that like when they ate one and it was a Badberry, they'd have trouble with it. I wanted it to be like a surprise. But I figured after 2 weeks of eating them, people would have picked a Badberry. So the long story short is that, you know, you can tell the green ones are not ripe and the purple ones are the ones you want, but there's a line between Goodberry and Badberry where it's like it still looks purplish enough, and if you don't make a good enough survival check, you don't get them. So I was like, okay, how many Goodberries would you want? Oh yeah, another thing is that I ruled that regular Goodberries last 10 minutes. I said, you know what, this is going to last 1 hour. These are like, you know, special Goodberries from the tree. You pick them, you get an hour. So over that week, you figured that out. Like, people had brought them with them on patrols, and after an hour, they kind of turn sour, and they don't have the healing properties anymore. But you still need to make survival checks to pick them. So I said, how many do you guys want? And, like, most people said 2. Fumbar wanted 2, Puck wanted 2, Squirrel wanted 2, and but Fumbar, I mixed up all the names, but Fumbar he took 10 for whatever reason. So we had them all roll survival checks. I should have had them. I think I did them secretly after. In the beginning, they weren't secret. I messed that up a little bit, and I said, okay, make them secret. And then people started rolling their survival checks to see how many they get and how good they get. Because if you roll low enough, you get a bad berry, and if you roll very well, you get 2 good berries. So I forgot how it happened, but they all rolled. And again, Fumbar rolled for 10 of them, and I think he got like 4. I think he got 4 good berries and 6 bad berries. He rolled very poorly on his survival checks. He's not very good at it. So he got 10 berries, and he got all these terrible berries that are going to make him start vomiting, make him sick into one. Also, there was some loot to divvy up, so we did all that. No need to talk about that. Oh, I wrote it down here. There you go. He got 6 good berries and 2 bad berries. I guess he only got 8. I thought he got 10. But I guess I'm wrong there. But there you go. This is what they picked. And I just had notes of how... Oh, I think I might have already taken him off. Like, there might have been 4 bad berries, and as he was eating them, I was marking them off, is what I did. Okay. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure I had 10, and I think it was like 4 bad, 6 good, or something like that. But, yeah, so that was fine. And then they left the town. They went, and they're moving through the forest. I basically asked them what kind of exploration mode activity you want to be doing. And Squirrel scouts ahead 25 feet, or 50 feet, I think is what they were doing. And everybody else is basically trying to be quiet. Everyone is stealthing. He's scouting. Blah, blah, blah. That's fine. Some notes about the forest. Stealth and survival check. Long story short, the gorillas find them. They stumble into a part of the woods, this forest canopy over here, and, you know, they came from over here. I said Squirrel got to about here, and the party was, 50 feet behind him, so out in the gray area. They got to here, and they made their stealth checks, and long story short, they didn't roll well enough. Squirrel specifically did not roll well enough, and the gorillas had seen them. They failed against the gorillas' passive perception. And Puck and everybody rolled, like, I forget who it was, but someone rolled extremely poorly, so much that I thought, like, the gorillas knew they were coming from a while away and set up here in ambush. So this fight went off. All the tokens have moved, but there was a gorilla here with a mask, and there was a gorilla down here, here-ish. And long story short, this one shot at Squirrel, and he opened with a crit. So it was really dramatic. They were moving through the forest. I had to make their stealth checks, and we got a surprise round. Then we rolled initiative, and the gorilla got a surprise round shot off, rolled a natural 20, and crit Squirrel for a bunch of damage, like half his health. And I had forgotten that bows are deadly, so it should have done 1d10 more damage. He would have been like in a very worse position potentially. And we also have the crit fail and crit success deck. I totally forgot about the crit successes. We remembered all the failures. Whenever somebody crit fail, we were very quick to remember to get a crit fail deck pull from there. But whenever we crit succeeded, I totally forgot. I totally spaced. I realized that like way at the end of the session that there had been a bunch of crits, and we forgot that. So in any event, it should have been even worse. But he lost like half his health. Squirrel's over here, right? How many health? He has 30 hit points. Yeah, so I think he got hit for more than 15. He lost half his health in the first shot. And then basically the guy was over here and he tried to hide. He took cover and he hid with his other 2 actions. And the party snapped into action. Squirrel started looking over there. He couldn't spot him, so he moved around, took cover. The rest of the party caught up. Puck came in and healed him a little bit. And then someone shot from down here and then disappeared, like hiding behind here. So Franco was now close enough that he ran up and he threw a firebomb, an alchemist fire, at this area. And he was surprised to not hear any screaming or shouting. He rolled very, very well. I think he might have crit also. And I ruled that he made a perception check in the fire, and they had tunnels, as we talked about in the last thing. So basically there are these tunnels that move between here and here, and there's another one in the back that I never actually ended up using. So this guy, he took his shot with a bow, and then it looked like he was just trying to hide in the bush behind the tree, but he actually scurried down, and we ruled that it was going to be 3 actions to move across. So he shot, dropped, and scurried, so he got like, a third of the way there. And so, but Franco, with his crit firebomb and good perception check, noticed immediately that they have tunnels. They have these trenches that they're dealing with. It's not just a straight up fight. So that happened. Eventually, the elf gorilla popped up over here and took some shots. But by then, Puck and Fumbar were on top of him. Puck was there, kind of stabbing with his shears, and Fumbar was doing weird things like he took a bad berry at one point. He's like, of his 10 berries, he's like, I just want to pop one in my mouth now. And he's like, okay, take it. And he rolled a 1d10, he rolled low on it, so he's, okay, you got a bad berry. And he said, can I voluntarily fail the check? Like, can I get sick, basically? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess. In Pathfinder 1, I know you can do that. I assume in Pathfinder 2 you can too. if you feel like a poison setting in your stomach, you just like, lean into it, I guess. So he voluntarily did that, and he puked into a vial earlier. Like, he puked his badberry juice into one of his alchemist vials. And he ran up to this guy and tried to, like, punch it into his face, basically. He took that. And he succeeded. He basically rammed it I ruled that he just rammed it into the guy's mouth and popped the glass bottle on his, like, lips and kind of pushed it into his mouth, the badberry juice. But he made his fortitude save, so he didn't get sick. So Funbar was a little distraught at that. But yeah, like I said, Puck was on top of him at that point. And they were stabbing, they were doing that. And I think Squirrel was taking some shots at him from down here, because this guy was being very, very hidden. He would take a shot, he'd go down and he'd hide. Eventually, Franco moved all the way up here, got up to him and started stabbing, and I think in his second attack on him, he crit with a finisher, and he did like 36 damage, I'm pretty sure. I don't have the chat open anymore. But I'm pretty sure he did 36 damage with his Reaper. Like, it's crazy. If I turn on Panache Finisher, and I go damage, like, yeah, so let me hit the critical button, that's actually better. So yeah, so this is kind of what he rolls, and I'm going to turn this off now. But yeah, so basically 1d6 plus 1, that's his weapon plus his strength, plus 2d6, which I think is, the precise strike, and then it's deadly 1d8 when he crits. So all of this for stuff in the parentheses is doubled. So he rolled 30 here, but in the session, I think he rolled 36. So yeah, I mean, these gorillas only have 28 hit points. So it was, and he was already scratched once from, like, I think he threw his what does he have, a star knife? He threw a star knife earlier. So yeah, so he murdered that guy, and I asked him, like, describe it. How do you want to do this? And boom, he says, I always go for the neck. Franco's always aiming, like, just for the neck, just in, out, it's over. And yeah, he's just a merciless murderer. And once that happened, it went pretty quick. So, like, this one died, and then this one died, and I had this chemist, which I was having a lot of fun with. I realized during the session, and I don't know how the hell I missed it previously when I was testing him out, like, this roll has no modifiers on it. I know he rolled a 20 there, so it looks good, but he has no modifiers. Like, it's not pulling in his dex or the fact that he's trained with bombs. Like, this one does, but, like, so yeah, it was a long story. So for the first couple attacks, I think I might have missed it. I don't think I saw it until, like, his second attack, that I'm an idiot and he should have a higher bonus. But yeah, so it is what it is. I think he missed a couple of them, but in general, he also just rolled really poorly. So he didn't do a whole lot. And that was kind of how the fight went, and it took a lot longer than I had thought. So like I said before, we had planned for 4 scenes, and we were talking about like 45 minutes to do the role-playing, which already went to like an hour, and then we figured this battle would be 45 minutes, and this battle took like an hour and 45 minutes, an hour, like, how long did it take? It was forever. Yeah, it took an hour and a half, I'm pretty sure. And kind of looking back and guessing why, the first were that Squirrel's dice were very cold in the beginning. I feel like it was 3 or 4 rounds where Squirrel was not hitting. And, you know, Squirrel is one of the primary damagers. He's a crossbow ace ranger. So, like, and they gave him the runestone, so he has a +1 weapon. And, he can do, like, you know, oh, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do that. And that's not even that good. But again, oh, crossbow ace damage, that's it, right? Yeah, 1d10 plus 2. So yeah, so he does a bunch of damage when he does it, and if he's hunting the thing, he does an extra 1d8, if the marked prey or whatever it's called. So, like, he can do a bunch of damage, and he was trying. He was like, I want to mark the gorilla up there, I'm going to shoot him, and he was just rolling, like, 3s, and just not hitting. So yeah, so there was like 3 or 4 rounds where that was happening. Fumbar he's playing like kind of a crazy funny goblin, and like I said, he's bashing vials of vomit into people. Once that failed, when he got over here to fight the chemist, he ate a good berry right in front of the chemist. It turned out to be a bad berry, and he voluntarily failed to save again, so he actually got sickened. And he started trying to vomit. He's like, can I make an attack, try to vomit in his mouth? And I had to make an unarmed attack. And I think he crit or he rolled a 19 or something. It was very high. So I'm like, yeah, fine. You know, basically you grab his face and get in there and start vomiting in his mouth. And he also made his fortitude save, much to Fumbar's chagrin. But yeah, so Fumbar was having more fun than dealing damage. He wasn't throwing too many bombs. I think he missed a couple of bombs he threw. And so that was going pretty slowly. Most of the damage came from Franco and Puck with his shears. And it took a long time. Like I said, I think it took an hour and a half, an hour 45 minutes. If you watch the recording, I broke it up into different scenes because it was so long. I like the YouTube video has different scenes. But yeah, so the fight took a long time, and then again when it got hot, it got hot. It went very quickly after it turned. But it was very challenging, which was kind of something I wanted to do. I had stressed narratively how hard the wood elves were to deal with, how much trouble they were causing all the people, and you know, all the other troops had dealt with these wood elves in these fights, and were doing very, you know, took a lot of damage, died a lot of them. And I wanted this fight to be serious. I wanted them to feel exactly how serious this was, and I think that's true. If you look at their health now, they're basically all dead. Squirrel's just filled up. Puck is almost dead. Franco's at half. Funbar, and this is after they had taken healing potions and ate Goodberries, and Puck had healed a bunch of them. And while this was happening near the end of it, I had the tree-bound elf gorilla. So basically there was an elf gorilla up here in the trees that was taking some pot shots at them near the end. Like I let the first beginning of it play out, and then once the players got to like this side of things, I had started having him just plinking at them. And unbeknownst to them, until a while, he's the gorilla leader. He's one of the, you know, the leaders of the gorilla ring. And I was gonna have it so that he runs away. So the, after this guy dies, the gorilla dies. After the masked gorilla over here dies, the chemist was fighting, and he shouted for him to leave. And he said, "Folan, leave." And Folan was the guy that signed the note, implying he was some sort of a leader in the gorilla group. So once they heard that, they started searching for the person in the trees, and his passive stealth is 19, and they were making seek actions. I think Squirrel did 3 in a round. He used his entire round to do seek actions and failed all of them. Again, his dice were cold that session. So he was up in the trees, like he was here, and then he was moving, and when he was moving, I was even lowering his passive stealth. Or I guess he was making a stealth check against their passive perceptions, and he was just acing it. He was doing really well, and they were doing very poorly. Eventually, as he was leaving, like the chemist shouted for him to leave, like, "Leave me here," and he took his last shot, and he tried to run away. And then I think Franco saw him. So he came there, and Franco threw, I think, a firebomb, or Funbar. One of them threw a firebomb into the tree, and I ruled that it was, like, disruptive enough that he actually jumped out. Like, the leaves caught fire, and he jumped out. And he tried to get away, and Franco, in his last-ditch attempt, he ran. I think he used the hero point while he was doing it. So he ran, and he threw his grappling hook to try to trip him a little bit. So I ruled, it wasn't a great hit, it was a little bit of a hit. So I ruled that he stumbled and fell, but it didn't, like, tie him up or tangle him or anything like that. So we ended there, because, again, it took an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes for this fight. And basically, we're going to start with the chase in the next scene. And he's only, like, you know, I think he was here. I don't remember where it was on the map when I started. But basically, he's only, like, 1 or 2 moves ahead of them. Like, he's literally, like, you know, within moving and shooting range. But Squirrel's all the way back here. Squirrel is... Where did Squirrel go? Squirrel is all the way back here. Squirrel is far away. But the rest of the party is, you know, within 2 moves of, like, you know, charging and attacking, basically. So that's where we're going to go. And, again, that's literally half of what I thought we would get through. So, again... Why am I so bad at timing things? The role-playing went on longer than I thought. First off, because just me narrating the things just took a while. And then talking to them, having them make the rolls for those role-playing scenes in the beginning took longer than I thought. And the players, again, they wanted to do things during that week. They said, well, if we're spending a week here, I want to open up my hair salon. Players are always going to want to open up a hair salon, right? Or a bar, or whatever. They're just gonna do what they want to do. So yeah, so that took longer than I thought, and then there was some time traveling, just narrating that scene, and this fight took the rest of the session. And it's not even like I didn't even cut the session early. This just took the rest of the session. I was lucky to have it end when it did. I also had, again, I have this elf gorilla too over here. I had another entire elf gorilla ready to go because I was worried this might be too easy. And we had also talked in the last thing. I wasn't sure how many people were going to come to this game. We have kind of like a pickup game kind of thing where we have, I think, there are like 6 active players, and there's a couple other people who are in the Discord that haven't actually played but have made a character. And it's basically whoever can show up that day gets to play, up to 5 people, because I don't want to run a huge game like that. So we have people RSVP. I try to keep slots open for the newbies that haven't played in the previous session, but it's been basically the same core, like 3 or 4 people show up, and then some other people kind of cycle in and out. So as of the last planning session, I think last 2 Tuesdays ago we were talking. little Mission Impossible-y. So yeah, but the last planning session we had, I wasn't sure if I was going to have 3 people, because I think we had Puck the Oracle, Squirrel the Ranger, and Franco the Swashbuckler had said, yes, I'm in. But I had 2 maybes. I had G-Pain the Bard and Fumbar, who ended up showing up. They were both maybes. So it was entirely possible that I had to run the session with 3 people, or I could have 5. If everybody decided they could show up, I could have had 5. So that's a horrifying place to be, because you got to scale the encounter up and down pretty severely in either way. But we talked about it last session, and we thought it would be okay to basically, I could use the weak template to basically change these guys up, because I already made them elite. If you look at them, if I go to this guy, they were like some hunter, some generic hunter from the NPC Codex, and I made them elite to make them, you know, a challenge level 2 to match the players who were 2nd level. And if I thought it was going badly, I could have made one of them weak or normal, which would be the, you know, level -1. And if things were going too easily, I was going to have a 2nd gorilla come up over here at these back 2 tunnels. So like when the players started coming up here to get to the chemist, they would be ambushed by a gorilla. This fight went well. I liked it. It stressed how serious the wood elves were, and they saw the leader. They got a glimpse of the leader, and they are keen to chase him, which is important because that's where we're going next. So the next scene is the forest chase, and I'm going to change turn that music off to go to play the actual woodland chase music. So long story short, what we're going to do here is I think we talked about this a bunch, so I'm not going to go over it too much, but this is going to be a skill challenge based on they're going to be rolling checks, and the gorillas are going to be rolling checks moving through the woods. So this is going to be like a chase. And there are rules for, I found out after this, that there are rules for how chases work in the Dungeon Master guide. Subsystems, chases. So like there's a whole thing here, and I kind of, what I based my thing on was the skill checks that were been in 4E and 5E Dungeons & Dragons, and Matt Coble has a good video on skill challenges. And then I realized, I took that and I kind of morphed it into the Pathfinder 2 rules that made sense to me. And then I realized it's basically the same thing. So yeah, basically you give them obstacles and you have DCs, and then you have skills you provide to them, and you can have the players decide how they want to do it. Like what they would do to get around the obstacle. So I unwittingly came up with a very similar system. I think there's a little difference in that they're talking about they want it so that like basically everybody gets like one attempt, like you get a turn and you try to get over an obstacle. I was basically making everybody roll it all at once. So we'd say, like, for example, I think I have handouts over here. So forest chase. It's like the first thing you run through the woods, and all of a sudden you stumble onto some pit traps. Like not just one, but there's like a bunch in the woods. How are you gonna get around them? And I have some stuff over here. Do I have a forest chase open? I do. I have some notes, and again, I don't want to go over all of them, but basically, the first thing is, pit traps, and there's, you can use athletics to jump or climb out to get, not fall down into them, and perception to notice them before they're triggered. And if you have other skills, if you're willing to be creative and tell me how you would do it, I'm open to whatever you want to do if it makes sense. Like if you want to use, acrobatics to tumble around things or whatever, if as long as you describe it well enough, you can do it. And the idea is that, they have pretty low DCs, and I think I might scale them up a little bit because they're 2nd level people now, so they've gotten a little bit better. But in general, I'm going to be a little flexible with it while I'm running the game and kind of just see how they're going. And the idea is that when you get a success, you move up 1, and when you get a crit success, you move up 2. If you get a failure, you don't move up at all, and if you crit fail, you move back 1. You basically hold the party up long enough that it takes to go back. So I'm going to have everybody roll it at once. So I'm basically going to mash this button here, and I'm going to say, okay, so for the first one, like we talked about, you can do a perception check or a athletics check. And essentially, I'm going to have them click on the one they want. So Squirrel's like, oh, I'm better at perception. Puck says I'm better at perception. And, Fumbar and Franco will roll athletics. And we'll see how it is. So, like, that's a pass, that's a fail, that's a pass, and I think that's a pass. What did I say? It was 12 athletics? No, 13, so fail. So you'd see that they would go up 2. So they'd go 1, 2. And then I'd have the elf gorilla make it, and I'm kind of just going to hand wave the elf gorilla. I'm going to have them move at a static rate. I'm not actually going to roll. I think I will privately roll. Like I'll change this to private roll, and I'll just roll some dice. I'll go. If I do 3, I was hoping to do it 3 times, so I guess it doesn't. So yeah, I'll just roll some dice to make it look like they're going, and I'll move him up at kind of like a static rate. I want him to be a little bit ahead, but not super ahead. And I do want to have the situation where they can catch up to them. Obviously, they're not going to pass them. So if they crit and they ended up at 4 and the guy only got to 3, I'd have them stop there because they're gonna, they don't want to. They're not racing him to somewhere. They're chasing him. So if they get to him and then roll past it, like if they had gotten an extra one, I'm gonna rule that they get an attack. Like one of them can choose to make a range attack, and they're probably gonna let Squirrel do that, unless they have some other ideas. But yeah, so Squirrel will do one of his crossbow shots. And it's a good amount of damage, but this guy has a good amount of hit points. So the gimmick is that they'll be running this chase. This guy's gonna be slightly ahead of them the whole time, but maybe slow enough that he gets caught and shot a couple times, and eventually he gets through to the end. And like I said, I have a bunch of there's the pit trap, there's a tangled forest. I changed the order a bit if anybody was watching closely enough to care. There's a bear's den, so basically they're going to be able to notice that they passed the bear's den without bears in it, and then that might inform some decisions they could make, and if they don't make the right decisions, they'll bump into the bear, and in the worst case scenario, they might have to fight the bear, but they can use skills to avoid it, either by, nature, knowing what's going on, they can stealth around the bears, or if they actually encounter the bears, they can try to intimidate them away. But if shit hits the fan, we can have a bear fight with the bear and 2 cubs, and the bear mama is not happy. And bear mama is a serious fight. A creature 2 and the bear cubs are 1s. I made them, they're weak bears, but they are not jokes. Like, they are jaws claw. Like, that's not nothing. +9 to hit and +5 on the damage. Like, that is not nothing. That is a serious problem for a fight, and 32 hit points is not nothing. Even the weak bears don't have a lot of hit points. So yeah, the weak bears are, they still hit pretty hard. Again, they're weak, so basically it's -2 to all their saves, everything like that. But their hit points go down a good deal, from 32 to 7. That seems kind of wrong, actually. I'm gonna have to check that out. I realized the day before the session, a new version of Foundry came out, and a new version of the Pathfinder 2 mod came out, and I applied it, and I noticed that the weak stuff kind of got applied twice. So like if I take this black bear, who's normal now, watch, and I copy it, and I come over to it now, open it, and I say, I want to make you weak. It has 17 hit points. See that? And this one has 7. So like something happened. So I'm glad I noticed this now, because I don't want to have to come and do it. So if I take you, you're supposed to be weak. Why are your attack still 9? Oh no, it's 7. It says 9 over here. I guess the weak is now applying it in a different way. Yeah. So I want to make this now small. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. So black bear cub 1, and I'm going to make you 1 unit like that. All right. So yeah, I'm glad I noticed that. And like I said, I updated the Foundry and the mod, the Pathfinder thing, and I noticed while I was setting it up that all of my guerrillas that I made elite were being doubled. Like all of the weak and elite templates that were built into Foundry were doubling either way. They were becoming double weak or they're becoming double strong. So if you are using elite and weak things and upgrading Foundry, I recommend not doing it the day before a session, because then you're going to be up all night fixing things, and I miss these bears. And it's going to be kind of annoying. So I did have to do that. I did have to make that fix. And I did it for everybody in the water temple, and I did it for all the gorillas, but I did miss the bears. But like I said, blah blah blah, they get through all this chase. They have the bears den, this rushing river. This is what I moved to. So basically, the rushing river used to be earlier, and now it's at the end. And then right after the rushing river will be the Elven ruins, which is kind of what I had originally started in. The original plan was for the guerrilla leader to kind of be based out of the ruins, or to be visiting the ruins or something like that, and he would be at the beginning, and then after that would be the pit traps. But now I put the Elven ruins at the end, after a river, so there's like a source of fresh water, and it's basically the end of the chase. The Elven ruins will be there, and the guerrilla leader is going to be just moving through them, not knowing or not caring that the mayor and the townsfolk that escaped or were exiled are going to be there. So, long story short, while the guerrilla leader is running through this place, the party is going to spot, probably hiding, or they might spot signs that people live here, and they'll see like the mayor, they'll either see the mayor or they'll see townsfolk they may remember that are either hiding or just living here. And they'll have simple weapons. They'll be making like fire-hardened spears and things like that. They're not making swords out in the woods, but it appears as though they're, arming themselves, and they're living here trying to eke out an existence. So the party has a choice. They can continue. This guy's running away. They're chasing him. They should probably continue chasing him, but it's up to them to decide what they want to do. They could stop and talk. They could start murdering people along the way, but they've kind of taken a tack of not murdering. They're kind of listening to the fishermen and not murdering people. So we'll see. I put that there at the end, so it's now a choice at the end. I was going to have it at the beginning, and then I was worried that they would talk to the mayor and lose the whole chase. But now they're going to be in the middle of the chase, and they hit the ruins. They hit the Elven ruins. They have to decide, what are we going to do? And this he's still running. He didn't stop. He's not getting people to help defend. He's not, like, hiding in the trees nearby. He's just booking through. So hopefully they just walk through, and they can come back and deal with them later, or they can talk and then have to track them. It's up to them. After that, there's some deep mud, and the deep mud will have like very clear footprints, so it'll be a very easy track. And Squirrel will probably be hunting him, and he gets a bonus for tracking things when he hunts them. So it should be a very easy for them to kind of find it. So once they get through that, I'm gonna go ahead and turn off that music. Once they get to that, they will find him running into the water temple. And we have a couple of songs for the water temple. There's the temple approach. I wrote up a bunch of stuff. I'm not going to bore anybody with it, but basically describing the structure. This is this big, like, marble white structure over the ocean at the edge of the beach, built out into the sea. It's raised from the ocean, 30 feet high, blah, blah, blah. And they see the only windows are these two in the front, these stained glass windows, and that there are no other windows in the thing. And I said it's going to be basically a knowledge check if you know anything about Gazre. This is one of his temples. Her temples, and that they are usually open to the sky and or the sea, and as you can tell, it's definitely open to the sea. And I would also say that there's open to the sky. I'll say like this dome in the middle, like where these pillars kind of are. Maybe like they're opening to like a big hole in the ceiling. So if they want to break into this temple, they can go over the side. They can go over the roof. They can come around the side, and they'll be in here. Or they can just burst on the front door and deal with these acolytes. And if you've seen the prep sessions, we talked about this like 3 or 4 times, so I'm not going to go into it. But they're gonna the ranger came here and is declaring sanctuary, and he is trying to just get away from the players, basically. And the players are hopefully, supposedly, going to burst into the temple and encounter a priestess that does not like the fact that they did that. They might kill the acolytes. They're very little hit points. And then there's a fight with the ranger, the priest, and the sea elf. It's a triton. I labeled it a sea elf because I don't think they know what tritons are. I'll have them make a knowledge check to see if they know what tritons are. But as far as I know, it's a sea elf. And I have some handouts. So I have like, blah, blah, the Guerrilla leader. I have one of those. This is just stuff I found online. I didn't commission anything like that. The sea elf. Again, it's a cool triton. It looks kind of like an elf, though. It's got the elf ears, so they don't know. But it's got fins. I probably should get one for the priestess, but I have not. But that's pretty much it. The masked elf gorilla. This is just the token image. I wanted to make it big so they could see it. How cool they have the mask. It's a special mask. They didn't loot the bodies in the gorilla fight, so I'm not sure if they want to do that quickly, or maybe we touch on that real quick at the beginning of the session if they want to grab it. But again, there's a chase going on, so I don't know how much time they have to actually loot the bodies. But this hunter's mask actually gives them a bonus to tracking things, so it might be useful. And yeah. So this fight, I'm not going to go into it, but I think this fight is pretty well balanced. It's going to be, it's extreme or whatever the highest level thing is. It's not an easy fight, but I believe it's the pinnacle of the occupation, kind of. So we're not going to go into it. I think it's okay. And I think Bijo and I were talking about the sea elf, the triton. He can like not summon something if things are going too poorly or things like that. We can even take the entire sea elf out if we wanted to. But the gimmick is they fight these guys, they kill these guys, they defile this temple. There's going to be a big necklace, a big, super big, like sapphire 3 teardrops on the necklace. And if they take that, they're going to be super duper cursed by Gazre. They're going to be pissed. They're going to piss Gazre off regardless. But if they take that, and I'm going to stress how much money it's worth, and like it's definitely the most expensive thing in the temple, and I figure somebody will take it, but we'll see. And there's coins in here. I guess I should total up what that would be worth. Looks like people are throwing money into that fountain, so I should take a note. To do add up money in fountain. Yeah, so I'll come up with something so that I'm sure somebody's gonna rob that. They're gonna see a bunch of money in the fountain and ask how much it is. So I gotta do that. All right. And there's a different song for when they're fighting in the temple, right? Temple fight. It's a little more dramatic. And yeah. But we're not gonna talk about too much. We talked about a bunch about all the spells the priestess has and how she's like a control kind of priest. She's moving people around with air and water, Gosreg style. The ranger's fighting, and the sea elf and whatever summons the octopus he brings in will be fighting in the water. And, you know, we'll see how it goes. With my luck, Squirrel's gonna crit and kill someone anyway, and then Franco will tumble in and crit again, and then I'll be the end of it. So I'll go back to turning on random music. And then we can go to what I was gonna talk about. Let's see, do I have anything else? We talked about the chase, the mayor roleplay, the water temple. So for the mayor roleplay, I don't have a whole lot written. If they decide to hang out at the Elven ruins and talk to the mayor, either during the chase or after the fight if there's still time in the session, I don't have a whole lot written for that. So I think I had some. Right? So yeah, basically, So basically, it looks like they're making simple weapons. They're preparing to attack, or maybe just to defend themselves. They don't know, but like they're not trained soldiers. They're not organized. The weapons are definitely like made of wood. Like they don't have swords and stuff like that. And I want to impress upon them that there are 60 elves that they forced to leave town, and they're becoming armed, but they don't look like soldiers. So it could be that if things go badly, if the guerrillas are successful in their attacks, if they don't shake up the leadership, that these poorly trained, poorly armed elves could be accompanying them in some sort of a strike back. So I want them to think about that. I don't know what they're going to do about that. If they decide to slaughter these elves or to kill the mayor for doing this, that's up to them. But I figure they're just going to leave it alone and do the temple fight first and then figure this out later. I don't have a whole lot else written up for that. So that's the next session, and like I said before, I thought that would all be done in the last session, but I'm terrible at timing things, so there you go. And now we can talk about what we're going to do in the session after that. So we went over this a couple times already, so we talked about making like Circe's Island, Circe from the Odyssey. And again, real quick, if you haven't been watching the other videos, after they do all this, after they piss off Gosreg, there's going to be like some narration explaining that the occupation's over. You broke it. We'll do some role-playing. If you want to wrap up the mayor thing, we'll probably do something with that. But long story short, once the guerrilla leader is dead and the temple is subdued, the occupation, it goes much more smoothly. Like, the wood elves are not going back out. They're not doing their skirmishes, blah, blah, blah. They wait a couple more weeks, and then a boat full of more human soldiers and some colonists come over and are basically going to take over Thaeth. And the Opilius gets orders and some reinforcements to go to the next major elf port. This was like the first attack of many, taking the first smallest port, and they're going to kind of just leapfrog from port to port until they get to the Elven capital. And the goal of the human empire is to take all the forts or the ports and or destroy them, and basically cripple the elves' ability to build warships. Because the humans are on their own continent, the elves are on their own continent, and the humans are now just coming up to speed, and the elves haven't even really acknowledged they exist at all yet. And the humans made this strike on one of their ports, and the elves don't have like a standing navy. They have like a mercantile fleet, but they don't have warships. Like maybe they have a couple, but like they don't think anybody else in the world matters. They don't think anybody else can build warships. They're all just barbarians fighting over dirt to them. And now this is a surprise. Is this lightning strike, this crack team of 60 of Opilius' troops with the goblins, was a surprise. So now they're going to just keep hopping as quick as they can from port to port to kind of cripple the elves' ability to fight back. And then once the humans have control of the sea, there's a whole bunch of stuff that can go on. So that's what they think they're going to do. So there's going to be some narration explaining all that. We can have some role play to wrap up whatever they want in town, and then they're going to get on a boat and leave, ostensibly to go fight the next port. But they pissed off Gosreg. They went to that temple, and there'll be a scene where basically Gosreg is blowing them off course, a la the Odyssey. And they're going to get blown through a magical storm, and their ship is going to be destroyed, and they're going to get washed up on an island. And that's where the real campaign starts. That's where I said it a couple times in some of the previous videos. I wanted to run an Odyssey style campaign where there's a bunch of islands and basically an archipelago to go explore and just a bunch of weird shit going on all the islands. And I wanted it to rip off some of the actual Odyssey islands and have a couple of crazy ideas I had myself, and basically kind of just fit everything, around, just build islands, figure out what I wanted to do, and let them explore it, kind of like a West Marches style or a exploration style thing, where there's just stuff out there that you hear about in passing, or you just randomly go in directions and you find stuff. So that's kind of where I'm going to go with it. And the first one we talked about is Circe's Island, and I was trying to come up with a name for Circe. I've been calling her not Circe in all my videos, and I think I might just go with like the Greek pronunciation, call her Kirkee, and spell it like that, Krkee, and that'll be, again, I'm ripping off the entire first island because I wanted to beat people over the head with, you're in the Odyssey. Like, I want it to be very obvious for anybody who's read the Odyssey, like, you're in the Odyssey now. And I thought about calling her Circe or something very similar to Circe, and I think going with Kirkee, it will be enough that anybody who has read the Odyssey and who cares about Greek pronunciation will have an idea. So I think that's enough of a nibble. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how my players do there. But I'm just going to call her Kirkee, and maybe they'll just think it's a funny name. But that's how it's going to go. So the first scene we talked about is washed up, and long story short, they are washed up on the ocean. They washed up on the beach. So they got through this magical storm. The whole big scene we just talked about happened, and they are washed up here. So I'm gonna add their bodies here. And I was thinking that I might add some corpses of other crew members. Like I might add like a dead dwarf or a dead halfling or whatever, some dead humans, to say some of your allies died coming through the storm, but a lot of them are just missing, just gone, presumably lost at sea. And I might even add, I thought I could add some skeletons here too, but I don't know if I really care enough to do that. I don't know what that really adds to the scene, except making people think that maybe the undead are coming. You see a skeleton corpse on the beach, and you start to worry about having to fight undead. But that's not happening. So the party will wake up, and they're basically being looted by these wolf fae, which are pugwumpies. And this is mostly because, I was kind of beating them over the head with the elves think you're fae, the elves think you're fae, the elves have a deal with fae, they've blah blah blah. And now that they've crossed into the Odyssey realm, the first things they're going to see are fae. And I want this to be is this the first world? Is this what's going on? I want them to have questions. Questions I don't really have answers to, but I just want them to have questions, and I want that to kind of, roll with that. So when they wake up, they're going to be looted by these wolf fae. So they wake up, and there's a pugwumpy over them, and maybe I'm gonna say maybe I have a pile of their loot over here. I'll add a map item or something like that. So it says they took some of your weapons and they're over here, or that you see a bunch of sacks piled up in a corner or something like that. Or the pugwumpies have big goblin-sized sacks of stuff around them, and they wake up and these wolf fae are kind of tussling them, and they have to wake up and fight. And I want this to be an easy or trivial level fight. They're level 0, and the parties will be level 2, so it's level -2. So I think there's 3 level -2, and I think I added a Nixie here, just because I wanted to have a different kind of fae. This Nixie has no attacks or anything though, for whatever reason. I think I messed up that Nixie somehow, so I'm gonna fix her. Go to the compendium browser for Pathfinder 2 in Foundry. I love it. I've talked about this a bunch. If you haven't used Foundry and you're playing Pathfinder, give it a shot. It's worth every friggin' penny. They even add all of the modules and stuff like that. So if you go to the bestiary, you can see that I even have the April Fool's bestiary was added recently. But all the modules and adventure paths, all of that stuff gets added. So if there's a cool NPC in there that you want in your game, or if you're running those adventures, you can go ahead and grab them. I think there's another module called PDF to Foundry or something like that, where if you actually go and buy the module and you have a legal copy, obviously, you can put it into the tool and it will give you a pre-made version of the module with all the NPCs where they belong and the maps with the lighting already done. Somebody's gone through the trouble of doing that. They can't legally just give it to you, obviously, because it's Paizo material, but if you prove that you own the PDF, they can give you the whole thing. So check it out. I haven't used it, but I've heard it's amazing. But long story short, I wanted a Nixie. I wanted a little fae here, and I don't know why this Nixie lost all her skills. I think maybe I deleted her actor, and that made the game mad. So I go over here and I'll just drag the Nixie over to here. And I want to steal this art. So I'll come over here and I'll open this Nixie, edit NPC, change your image to that one like we talked about. And the prototype token has that image. Okay, cool. So now if I delete this Nixie, and I drag this Nixie. Yeah, so Nixie 2, Nixie 1. So yeah, so basically I'm going to have these wolf fae kind of looting the people, and maybe I have this Nixie come up and maybe she's looting somebody near the water. And basically these people are just, you know, they're scavengers. They're over here. They're not meant to fight very hard. So they're all level 0, so it's 3 level 0s and 1 level 1. And again, I still don't know the tables in the well enough to be able to just tell you what that is. But let me see. Pull this open here. So we have party level -2, and there's 3 of those, so it's 60, and then a party level -1 for the Nixie. That's 90. So 90 is actually in moderate. That's kind of surprising. So I didn't even want it to be moderate. I wanted it to be low. So I could remove one of the Pugwumpies, or I could remove the Nixie if I don't really care about having something at the sea. I want to have a bunch of different fae though, so maybe I just remove one of the Pugwumpies. In any event, I don't expect the fight to go very long or very hard. I just want it to be like, again, they're scavenging, they're fighting, and the Pugwumpies have this unluck aura, which I like, and it's kind of like a running joke in my group because both Shirag, who plays G-Pain, and Naz, who plays Even, they were in a Legacy of Fire campaign with me, where I was a player with them, and we hated these Pugwumpies. They were in a couple of scenes in Legacy of Fire. They're in this unluck aura where you basically have to roll twice. It is horrible. We fought like one Pugwumpy who was hiding in a temple, and like we couldn't find him for a while, and he was just causing all these problems, and it was hilarious. It lasted so long. So I wanted to kind of just throw a bone to that, a little homage to that, and have these Pugwumpies who aren't very good otherwise. You know, they're not doing a lot of damage. -3 on the damage. Like, they're doing barely any damage. Is the bow better? Yeah. So I guess they should be using the bow. But, you know, they're going to be forced in the melee anyway. They're not very strong. They're not very good at what they're doing. But they have this unluck aura, forcing people to reroll. If they fail their will save, to reroll all of their rolls, essentially. All checks, including, I'm pretty sure that includes strikes and everything like that. Basically, it's everything, as long as they're within 20 feet of the gremlin. So yeah, so basically, they're going to land, they're going to encounter these gremlins, they're going to be being looted, they're going to be, the Nixie's pulling them apart, maybe the Nixie's looting some dead guy who's like, his body's in the water. But yeah, they're going to wake up, they have to deal with this. Should be a pretty easy fight. Hilarity can ensue, obviously. But that's it, that's the first scene, and I think it's pretty much done. Like I said, I think I want to add maybe some sort of icon for like a loot pile, or maybe just note that one of the wolf fae is bogged down with loot or something like that. And I could always have the Pugwumpies scatter if this is going on too long, or if it's not, if I don't like the way it's going, or if it's taking them too long to kill them, or if the unluck aura is too annoying. I could have the Pugwumpies run, like, 'cause they don't want to die. Obviously, they're just here to pick up some loot and stuff, and then they disappear. And that's that fight. That's that encounter. Going back to scenes, I want to add another scene in the middle here that I don't have one yet, which is basically kind of walking through the forest. Once they finish this fight, I want to impress upon them that a bunch of people died. Obviously, they see some corpses down here. Some of their crew is dead. A bunch of their crew is missing, and they are exhausted and thirsty. It's very important that they need to find water. They need to find fresh water. So they're going to start walking inland towards the island, looking for water. And I want to have a scene which is basically like, you know, a jungle-like forest, where they... Like, it's not an actual battle map, it's just going to be like a scene picture just of the jungle. And I'm hoping to find something that has a bunch of animals in it. I'm not going to bother searching right now. I'm not going to go through Google Images right now live. But the idea is that I'll add a scene here, which will just be like, you know, a jungle with a bunch of animals. And I will just narrate and describe what's going on there. So if you're familiar with the Odyssey, Circe's Island, or Kirkee's Island, she is an herbalist and like an enchantress, and she can turn people into animals. She makes this poison in the wine or in the food, wherein you eat it, you drink it, you turn into an animal. And I'm not sure if there's something else to it. Like I'm kind of ruling that you turn into an animal based on the kind of person you are. I'm not sure if that was a thing or if I'm just making that up. But I'm kind of going with that, so that that's what she does. That's kind of what she does. And she's populated her island and her forest with all these animals that used to be people. And they're going to walk around this forest, and they're going to find a bunch of different types of animals. Wild type animals that you see in a jungle, and also like some domesticated animals. But they're all going to be like oddly calm or lackadaisical, or not. They're not wild animals. Like they're going to walk past like a panther, and the panther isn't walking like a panther walks. The panther isn't looking to start a fight, and stuff like that. So like they're just walking through the woods. I'm going to stress that, like, you know, you find these animals, you see them, and they're just not acting right. And we have some, like, the ranger in the party is an animal whisperer, so hopefully he knows something about animals. But long story short, these animals were people. I don't know that they have their human intelligence. I kind of want to say they don't. Basically, maybe they have some semblance of something, but they're more than animals, but far less than humans. They're not like gonna walk up and say, "You gotta help me" or whatever. If they somehow can't speak to animals, I don't want them to be able to talk like that. But I want them to have some semblance of the fact that they are more than animals. So I'll describe that. I'll come up with a couple of scenes, or a couple of, at least, like, you know, you see this animal, it acts this way and stuff like that, to make it seem weird. And then I want them to stumble on Circe at the water hole, basically. So Circe's there, and maybe she has... I keep coming back to a panther, because in my mind I want to make Apilius one of the people that was turned into an animal. I want him to be like a panther or a lion, or something like in a leadership, noble kind of role. And I want Circe to like him as a pet. And basically, I want Circe wants to keep him. And we'll have some of the other people in the troop also be animals. So we talked about that. We're gonna have like the dwarves turn into pigs, because they were gluttons in the previous scene we talked about back at the town. They were eating too much meat. So a bunch of them are gonna turn into pigs and stuff like that. So the idea is that a lot of, not all of, but a lot of the crew washed up on this island survived, and Circe has already turned them into animals. So for whatever reason, the goblins woke up later, or last, or something happened. Whatever, I can kind of just hand wave it away. It doesn't really matter what it is. But however it happened, Circe got some of the crew. Maybe she just walked up to the beach and poured wine in their mouths. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Circe has a bunch of animals that are the people. And like I said, so they'll find Circe at the watering hole, and she's just there sitting next to this lion that she's petting, and she just entreats with the goblins, invites them over, and is just genuinely nice. She's beautiful. I think I made her, if I go over to Kirkee's villa, I can kind of see some of the stuff. I made her a nymph, I think? Forget what I made her. A Nereid, I think it was. Basically, I wanted her to be a fae, and I wanted her to be an enchantress, and I wanted her to be significantly powerful. So again, like, she's a level 6 creature, and they're level 2. So, you know, you look at the GM thing, that's +4. It's an extreme threat solo boss is what it is. So, like, she's got... I just closed that. I probably shouldn't have closed that. But yeah. Like, she's hard to destroy. And she can fight, and she's got a lot of hit points. She's got... you know, she's, again, huge AC. So yeah, so the idea is that the party's not supposed to be fighting her. And on top of that, she's kind of an herbalist, which I'm just going to kind of hand wave. I'm not going to give her alchemist levels or anything like that. I'm just going to say that she's an herbalist, and she makes this sort of stuff. And I want to change her token. We talked about this last session, but I didn't find anything good, and I don't really want to spend too much time going over it right now. But I don't want her to look like an actual nymph hanging out in the water. Like, that's a little too weird. I don't like it. But yeah, so basically she's got this villa, and we'll get to that later. But yes, she's going to encounter her at like a water source in the middle of the jungle, and she's going to be there calmly, almost waiting for them, like basically knowing they were there and they were going to come here, and she's going to entreat with them and be very sincere in her curiosity about them. You know, they're interesting to her, and she will invite them back to stay at her villa. And assuming they agree, they can come back and talk here. And again, I was starting to make this. I want to set this up so that I can actually set up night and day. I didn't actually go through and set it all up yet, but I do want to play around with that. Maybe I'll do a little bit of that later tonight. But yeah, I do want to be able to have like night and day transition. So they're here for the day, they're talking, then they stay the night, and they choose a room to sleep in. And I want them to be able to move around here a little bit. So one of the things I talked about with Bijo last time was when you give somebody a battle map, when you put them in a map like this, where they're going to have a token and there are squares and there are rooms, they are going to want to move around that battle map. They're going to, in their brain, enter a battle kind of mode. And I don't want them to really fight Circe, but I do want to have them to have like a little suspicion. I want to have a little of that going on in their mind. So like during the night, Cersei's gonna go to bed, and you know she's not gonna have let them into like her bedroom, this room, which is kind of like an office, but I'm also gonna kind of hand wave and say it's like it's her alchemist lab. I think I'm gonna try to find some stuff, some like doodads basically to change some of these scrolls into like alchemist tools and stuff like that. And I'm thinking I'll also say that they can't go in the bath. I figure like Cersei as a water fae may have this be a special place for her. So like this entire section of the villa is off limits, and then obviously that's going to entice them to go look at night. They're going to try to break into rooms at night. So yeah, but again, I want Cersei to be completely sincere in her desire to help them. They are curious to her because the gimmick is that the goblins, for whatever reason, Cersei can't explain it, the goblins did not turn. Like whatever magical herb poison she put in to make people turn into animals, the goblins don't do it. The goblin physiology is different, or something's wrong with them. Maybe they're special. It didn't work. So she is curious more than anything. She's not angry at them. She doesn't want to kill them. She doesn't want to figure out what's going on. She just that's wrong. She does want to figure out what's going on. So she wants to talk with them and maybe keep feeding them things and see if she can figure out what's wrong. Maybe she tweaks all the poisons, whatever's going on. She's tweaking the poison to try to figure out why the goblins aren't affected by it, and then what she can do to make them affected by it. But she's not like super nefarious. She's not looking to kill them, and she's totally fine with them leaving the island. So again, she's genuinely helpful, and over the course of a couple of days, we'll do role-playing, and I plan to wing most of it. But the idea is that she will either guide them to, or they'll guide themselves to, the fact that there are enough pieces of broken boats and wood on the island to build a small boat for themselves. And 2 of the players or 3 of the players have like sailing lore, so I'm going to hand wave that. They can make checks and stuff, but I'm going to hand wave it that they have enough knowledge to build a boat. And yeah, so the idea that Cersei's here and you can spend a couple days here if you want, and you can build a boat and you can leave on your own. And then, you know, they can come back to this villa, and we're going to have a bunch of role-playing scenes. They can do if they want to sneak around and they want to, like, start looking for stuff, they can do that. And I don't know what they'd really find. I'm kind of going to write some stuff up. Like, if they come over here, they can enter the alchemist lab. And, again, I'm going to change out some of the stuff so it's not just a pile of scrolls. There's going to be lots of alchemist tools there. And they can find out, oh, she's an herbalist. She does all these things. And maybe from there, start maybe reading some of the documents or figuring what's going on, and maybe get some ideas of some of the potions she's working on, including the fact that she finds the goblins interesting. That maybe, again, I don't know what, maybe she's writing, I don't know what language Fae speak. What does she have here? Common, Elven, Sylvan. Yeah, she's probably writing in Sylvan then. Yeah, so she'd be writing notes in Sylvan. I don't know if any of them speak Sylvan, but maybe they can make some linguistics checks or whatever it is in Pathfinder 2 to kind of notice that she's writing about the goblins, and maybe she has pictures of goblin physiology and stuff like that. So again, she's interested in them in an academic sense, as well as, you know, meeting them in, you know, who they are kind of sense. And maybe that kind of concerns them. But also, she might have notes about the potions she's given everybody else, or the people that have turned into animals. I think that's a little on the nose. I don't think she'd make notes like Apilius is a lion and blah blah blah. I think she'd keep that a little more in her head. But yeah, so they can break into some stuff, they can look around, they can find this pool that, you know, she's got a really nice pool, like a bathing pool, blah blah blah. But again, she's really nice and really helpful. One of the things that Bijo came up with, which I thought was a good idea, is that, you know, there are every day when they're here, they'll see a different servant, or like, you know, at least like a small rotation of servants, and it's always like one at a time. It's never multiple servants. And when they look around at night, the servants aren't here. And like, there's no real servant, like I guess these would kind of be servant quarters, but there's no one in the servants' quarters. And there's always a bunch of animals around. Always, there's parrots, there's fish over here, like, you know, there'll be cats or whatever. Like there's always animals just walking around in Cersei's villa. Like, she's very obviously a animal lover. And the gimmick there is that Bijo came up with was that Cersei has all these animals that she's turned people into, she's turned into animals, and then a bunch of them are her servants, and she can give them, like, you know, a drop of a potion, and that'll turn them back into humans for, like, you know, a limited time, like 8 hours, 12 hours, whatever it is. And the people come back and they know what's going on. They realize that they've been an animal. However it works, however the intelligence, again, I don't want them to be like intelligent animals. However it works, they realize they've been an animal, and they understand that they will be an animal again in 8 hours. And like they know they can't run away. Essentially, they're on an island. Like they're going to turn into a cat or whatever it is. They're going to turn into a fish in 12 hours. So they better not mess this up. And they're basically they serve as servants for Cersei. And you know, maybe I think Peter was saying like you have different ones. Like one's a really good chef, or one does this well, or one prepares that. And she basically just summons these things by turning the animals into people. And maybe that's something the players can notice if they're sneaking around, or they can figure that out somehow. I don't know. But basically, you know, I want that to be a thing they can figure out while they're here in the villa. But they're going to be here for a couple days probably, and we're going to roleplay a couple scenes like that, and maybe just hand wave some time. But after a while, Cersei is going to ask them that, you know, she wants a boar, or she wants like a pig, basically. She like, we're out of fresh meat here. Can you go out into the woods and get a boar? They usually live around here. And we're going to send them out into the woods, and they're going to go get a boar. Hopefully they agree. I mean, if they don't agree, I guess we have to just skip the scene. But Cersei's, again, she's going to be really nice and forthcoming and helpful, and hopefully not suspicious. I think players are usually suspicious of anybody you throw at them, but hopefully not too suspicious. And she's going to say, go out to the forest, go out to get a boar, go get me a pig. And then I have this scene here, this pig hunt, which is, it's not a battle map. It is another skill challenge. And this is more direct related to the skill challenge rules as opposed to the chase thing that I kind of rigged up and then realized it already existed. So, and also I took a lot of inspiration. If you go to the subreddit for Foundry, someone made a chart that looks like, a lot like this, where you have the success and failures, and you have it set up so like, you know, there's a green bar that you fill up. These are currently invisible, and I can make them visible basically. And the gimmick here is that basically when you make a success, you get 1. If you make a crit success, you get 2. And if you fail, you get 1. And if you crit fail, you get 2. And I need to figure out the math. I want to figure out what it is. Usually it's like, oh, you want to have 5 failures before you have 5 successes before you have 3 failures, something like that. So I'll figure out whatever math I want to do and resize these things appropriately. But the gimmick is there'll be like a wild pig chase where they're out in the woods and they have to explain to me like, what skills would you use to find a pig? And they needed to narrate what their character would do, and then have them go one at a time. And they would just say, oh, you know, I'm a skilled hunter. I would use my survival skill to track them, and I have this class ability that gives this to it. I'd have them make a check. I'd kind of on the fly determine how difficult that check would be based on, you know, the DC thing. If you go to the Archives of Nethys, and you go to Rules, and you click on this GM screen, this is great. So like I highly recommend having this open. If you're running online games, definitely click this GM screen on the Archives of Nethys, yeah, because they have like, oh, DCs by, you know, simple DCs. So you can decide like what level do you want them to be, or like is this something only a trained person could do? Is this something you want an expert to do? And kind of just set that, and then you plus and minus yourself, you know, whatever you want to do. So you can say like, okay, this is hunting on a boar like this is going to be a trained thing. So you know, make your survival check in my head. You gotta make a 15, and then again, plus or minus whatever you want to do. And I'm fine with mostly hand waving a lot of this. Like I'm not gonna come up with a list like I have in the chase where it's like you can use these skills at these DCs. I'm gonna have them narrated. I'm gonna have them basically describe what they're gonna do, and if it fits well, I'm gonna have it be an easy or a, you know, moderate check. If it doesn't fit at all, I'm going to just say, no, that doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. If it fits a little bit, but not a lot, I'll make it a more difficult check. And we'll see what happens. You know, you never know. The alchemist says, I'm going to throw fire and hope they scurry out or something like that. And depending on how it works, we'll see how difficult it is. And boom, go with that. And then, yeah, so the idea is that they'd make a bunch of skill checks. We go around a couple times, and they would get successes and failures. And eventually they would catch a pig. Or not, or they just get away. But during this, whether or not they catch a pig, I want them to notice that the pig is a dwarf, one of their dwarf allies. So we talked about this, that maybe the pig would have tattoos like on its arms, like some of the dwarves they've seen, or like on its belly, something giving it away that this pig was once one of their dwarf allies. So, you know, they might have gotten some hints at Kirkee's villa. They might have gotten some hints of all the overt overtones we have going on for the Odyssey. And by this point, it should be kind of, again, beating them over the head that this is not Auric or whatever. This is whatever his. I don't have the dwarf names up, but you know, this is the dwarf NPC that we know. That's pretty much it. So again, this is going to be a skill challenge. I do want to figure out the numbers here, so I do kind of want to look a little bit. I guess if we've got time, I'm not really doing anything else. So I can figure out if I go back to chases. Chases isn't really what I wanted, right? Subsystems. They don't have they have a skill challenge one. They have victory points. Yeah, so I feel like the victory points is probably the same thing. Yeah, so like you gain 1 victory points, and then you lose, yeah, failure, you lose 1. So it's the same kind of system that I was just talking about. I think in mine, though, I think a failure won't lose. Yeah, I guess it will be. It's the same thing, only instead of having 1 track, I'm going to have 2 tracks. So like instead of gaining 2 and then losing 1, you're going to gain 2 and then gain a failure. And then I'll just decide how many failures it should be. So yeah, because they've got this thing, so 3 to 5, and I feel like maybe I should just use the victory point system if it's in this. It's already designed out there. I feel like I should just grab it and run with it. Like I also have, I was watching the Matt Cola video, and I have this other page over here, which is like, I think this is using it in 5e. And I'm trying to figure out how many I should do. I never go minimum of 3 6 which it requires because it feels bad the challenge ends. Yes, agreed. I always have them need 3 failures to fail because 3 strike strat is so ingrained in the American mind. Okay, that might be it then. I might just go with 3 failures and then maybe like 5 successes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like 7 is too many. I feel like 5 is good because if you got to, well, if you have 4 people, you want to have everybody go at least once. So maybe 7 is good. Maybe do like 7 and then 4. Like 4 failures and you scare away the pigs. So yeah, I might do that. So then if I go like this, and I think I take this drawing tool and I select the box, I can just shrink this down to 4. Right? And the fact that it's even now is going to be annoying because the top is odd and the bottom is even, so that they're not going to line up well. But it'll work. I could always go 5 failures. Or I can make this go to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can make this go to 8. Yeah, I think I'll do that instead. I think I'll go 8 and 4. And I don't know if that's too long, but it is what it is. So if I go take this, I elongate it. Right. Elongate it and make it a little bit. There you go. And now I come over here and I copy one of you. And then I think I gotta censor everything more. Right? There's 3. And then there's 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, the fact that this is slightly annoying. Alright, fair enough. I'll just make it work. Ugh, I don't want to rescale it. I want to move it. I guess I could turn off the grid, and then it doesn't much matter. As long as these things line up to where I want them to go. Yeah, turning off the grid is kind of important then. Okay. So yeah, so that fits. And then I need to edit the map here. Pig hunt, configure, grid, opacity. Don't show it. Here you go. That's better anyway. I don't think you want to actually be able to see the background. And yeah, so 3, and yeah, basically I want to move that picture a little bit. I want to move the word just a little bit. It kind of snaps too. Is there an option for that? There's not, right? Nope. I guess I could manually move the width pick like that or whatever. They can move the X and Y coordinates. It's close enough. I don't care. And then kind of like this, and then kind of like this, right? That's it, and that's what I'll do. So yeah, basically, boom, you need to get 8 successes or 4 failures, and that's pretty much it. So then 8 successes kind of ensures, like the guy was saying in that blog I brought up earlier, that everybody gets to go at least once, probably twice. With a group of 4 people, everyone's probably gonna get to go twice. And if someone is really bad, like maybe someone shines, maybe Squirrel being the ranger, being the survivalist kind of guy, maybe he shines really well in it, and he'll make more of the 8 than the others. But, you know, as long as they're not horribly failing, everything's going great. So the idea is that, yeah, you go around either an initiative or you just have them say whenever they want. They can say, like, everybody has to go before someone gets to go again. You can go in any order you want. And then I basically have to have them describe what they want to do and then narrate what they see after that. So maybe I'll come up with some bullet points of, you know, when you try to use survival to find it, this is what happens. You find some tracks, you head over, and you hear squealing in the bush over in the next, in the distance. You see some rustling and hear some squealing. And then someone else has to go. And I think one of the rules that Matt Koval had, and I'm not sure if it's in the Pathfinder ones, was like once you use a skill, you should have to use a different skill. Like you can't just use survival over and over and over again. Yeah, I don't really have a good one. But yeah, so we basically, we'd have them, I use survival to track them, and you don't want them to just keep using survival. Especially, you don't want the same person that made that first survival check to make another survival check. You don't want the guy who's like super really good at survival just kind of dominate the skill check. You want to have some more fun with it. But yeah, so that's kind of what I want it to be more player driven than anything else. I want to just have this be like a fun, lighthearted thing. I really want to find like a funny kind of song. I got to go through my library. Nothing has jumped up really. I think something was kind of circusy. I heard some song that was kind of circusy, but it wasn't enough. But yeah, I want to have I want this to be like a funny, hilarious sort of chase. I want the failures to not sting so much. I want them to be hilarious. Like the goblins are just bad at capturing a pig. And I just love this art. I'm not sure if this is from Weeby Goblins or from one of the comics. I don't know. They call it Squealy Nord. I'm not familiar with the lore around Squealy Nord the pig. But I very much love this picture. I saw this, and that's when I decided there had to be a pig chase. So yeah, there will be a pig chase, and they're going to probably catch the pig, but like I said, they can fail. I want this one to fail, or be failable. But at the very least, they're going to see that they're going to have some indication that a pig is a dwarf. Maybe they get close enough to see it, or maybe they get to the point where they're like wrestling the pig, but the pig is all muddy and it gets away because they failed their checks. But during the wrestle, they noticed the pig had tattoos, or one of the ones I keep saying is that they could have like multiple earrings or something like that. But I haven't dropped that hint enough to players in the sessions. I've kind of forgot. I dropped that ball. So yeah, I don't think I can really go with that one. I think the dwarven tattoos are going to be it. And that's pretty much it. They're going to go on a pig hunt. They're going to notice it's a dwarf. They can either get it or not. Maybe they kill it. Maybe as part of the hunt, Squirrel says, like in one of the later sections when they see the pig, Squirrel just, I shoot it. I shoot with my crossbow. And you shoot a pig, it's dead, basically. I don't know how many hit points pigs have, but you hit, you're done. So yeah, and then they'll go and collect the pig, and they will find out that they killed one of their comrades with the tattoos. And they will go back to Kirkee. That's gonna be really hard. In my head now, like I want it to be Kirkee, and I'm totally gonna say Cersei during the session. I gotta burn Kirkee into my head. Kirkee. So they'll come back to Kirkee's villa with or without a pig, but with the knowledge of, hey, this pig was totally one of our friends. And then maybe they walk around the forest, maybe they bump into something else. I should have like a list of animals and who they are. Like Apilius is going to be a lion, and most of the dwarves are going to be pigs. I want Auric to be something else other than a pig. He wasn't like a glutton at the camp, so I want him to be something else. But you figure it out. I think Bijo had some ideas. You can have some of the halflings be raccoons and stuff like that. And basically, I want to have them just notice some things. And since I haven't dropped enough hints and I haven't left enough descriptive like very distinctive things about NPCs, I think I might have to just say like out loud, like, oh, you see that raccoon has 2 earrings on its ear, and that looks like this. Or I guess the jewelry on that was stolen by that one halfling is kind of iconic. So that was in a scene that they might remember. So I'll say that you see one wearing like a seashell wristband or something like that, and kind of just giving some information about it. And then the party will come back with the knowledge of, hey, this has happened, And then what do they want to do about it? Cersei again is obviously very powerful. I don't know how I do want to convey that. I'm not sure exactly how I'll convey that, but she outclasses them greatly. Obviously, anything can happen if they get a jump on her. It is what it is. But you know, she basically just says, "Hey, by the way, I have my private GMs roll on the right in case someone happens to join." Sometimes the players join to look at their character sheets, but like you just look at her and you can be stunned. And I think she has even more stuff, right? You go blind if you crit fail or something like that. Like there was something. Maybe that's just it. Stun for and whenever it gives, yeah. Even if you can't see her, so yeah, just it's stunned 1 for this turn, and whenever it begins to turn within 30 feet. So like you're fighting at a huge disadvantage. What's tied to the land? Just I have to look that up. And I gotta make you Kirkee. Gotta just make sure I change your token to Kirkee. Alright. Is she changed in here? Kirkee. Alright, I do want to change that icon, but it is what it is. But yeah, so again, she is more than they can handle, or they're more than they should be able to handle. And I want that to be kind of reinforced. And I also want to have animals here. I just gotta add a bunch of animals, like parrots and stuff like that. But also something more serious. Like maybe she keeps that lion around. I kind of like that idea, so I'm going to look real quick. Get a lion out here. But maybe she keeps that lion, and the lion is Opilius. And they need to figure that out. I don't know how they noticed the lion is Opilius. I don't know if Opilius has distinct... He's got like a beard, and I think I have a picture of him. I think I had a handout for what I've showed Opilius as. Opilius' troop. Opilius. So, I mean, he's got, like, other than his gear, like, again, his sandals, his sword, his toga, whatever, that's all iconic. But, you know, him himself doesn't have much. He got an earring, and he's got gray hair and beard. Maybe it's an older lion, like it's a lion with gray in his mane. And, you know, if in the right light, at the right angle, it kind of reminds them of Opilius, especially once they realize that people are animals. So, yeah. My art, tokens, Devon Knight, Lion. Let's go the regular lion. I don't need a dire lion. Let's go the regular lion. So, I have a lion. Right. Yeah, just lion, not lion 1. Yeah. So again, like this lion's always going to be nearby her, and lions are serious business too. Again, it's acting really passively, but if they attack her, the lion should be protective. Or if they seem in any way to intimidate her, the lion will be protective of her. And again, it's not a big thing. It's not a joke. They need to understand that. And that's pretty much where I'm going with that. So yeah, I think that's going to be basically all role play. They're going to decide what do they want to do about this. And I want to dissuade them from fighting and kind of push them to role play. And once they start doing that, if they start pushing the issue like, hey, you got to turn him back. That's Opilius, you got to turn him back. She's gonna refuse. She says, why? He's the best pet I've had in years and blah, blah, blah. And then, like, unbeknownst to them, maybe she's turned Opilius back into a man for hours and, you know, turned him back into an animal so she can do whatever she wants. So yeah, so she's not going to want to do that, and if they fight her, it's not going to go well, and she's not going to kill them. I'm not sure why, but I'm just going to make it so she doesn't kill them. But again, I'm going to try to dissuade them from fighting her at all. And then if they you know push it, basically she will make deals with them. She's going to kind of give them effectively give them quests. Like, well, if you really want, like, Opilius is my favorite, but I don't want to give him back. But if you really want that pig turned back into a dwarf, you can go to this island over here and do this for me. And I kind of want to use her as the beginning of a quest hub. And I like the idea that she's not just like a friendly old person who's giving you quests and telling you where all the things are at. It's like she's doing horrible things. She's turned all your allies into animals. And do you care about that? Maybe you just don't care about that. But if you care about it at all, you might want to start going around, listening to what she has to say, and going to these islands nearby she's told you about. She says, oh, hey, you know, there's a dinosaur island over there. And I could use some eggs or whatever from over there. And do this, do that. So I like the idea of her being something of a, like, not a quest hub, but, you know, a quest giver, and she gives a little bit of information about all the islands. And that's pretty much, that would be the next session. So again, there'll be a bunch of narration explaining how the resistance has died down, blah blah blah. Another 2 weeks pass, and the thing is that the players do want to do some role playing. They said that they want to do like a play and stuff like that. So I have to give them some time in the town of Thaeth during that 2 weeks or whatever it is after the resistance is done. They have to have time to do their play, and I want to make sure that they have time. So I'll talk to Jeff and make sure that they get on that. And also, we got to handwave something or role play something or narrate something about the mayor. Like once the wood elves are destroyed, once the wood elf guerrilla leader is destroyed, the wood elves are going to basically just fade back into the woods, and there's no more oomph behind the resistance. There's nothing going on. So once we have that happening, I figured the mayor will just fold. Basically, she's going to give up, and I got to either disappear into the woods or try to come back into the city. I don't know. We'll figure out what they're going to do. But I don't want to spend too much time on that. I don't want to have the players role playing with the mayor to make her come back into the city. We could also always have Opilius go out and murder them if they the party comes back and reports that they are building weapons in the woods and that they might have been corroborating with the wood elves. They might go ahead and murder them. So we could come up with something. We'll feel it out at the end of next session how we want to do that, and I can talk to the players and get some kind of a gauge on that. But yeah, so we want to have some roleplay time here, and then I want to narrate themselves into the next scene, the next chapter, whatever you want to call it. And then I think we got to go fast, depending on how much narration and role playing goes. And as we've seen today, I'm bad at estimating that. We have a fight. We have role playing in the woods, which I don't have a scene for yet. We have role playing at the villa, which could take. It's going to be it could be multiple days of role playing. In game days. So we can see how long that goes, and I don't know what they want to talk about. And then there's going to be a pig hunt, and then maybe more role playing. So it is what it is. I like to in my brain, I'm cramming things into sessions because I had envisioned this to be like a West Marches thing, an episodic thing, where like you show up for this thing and you play and it's over and you're done. So I'm trying in my brain to cram things in, but I think I need to lighten up on that. At the end of the day, I've mostly had the same like 3 or 4 core people show up, and then we have some people swapping in and out. And I think I just need to embrace that and just go with it and just forget about this whole episodic nature and just play the campaign, end it in the middle of a scene if it has to end in the middle of a scene. Like don't sweat that. And then kind of just what's the word? Just swap people in. Like if Fumbar was there and then he's gone, like Fumbar just disappears. Like just not make a big deal out of it. Just kind of roll with it. And like Fumbar comes in the next session and he just appears. He just Fumbar was there in the whole time, kind of just dicking around in the background. It didn't really make much of a difference, and just kind of just hand wave that. Someone was telling me there's some like item in Pathfinder 1 where it's like a stone of summoning or something like that, where people basically just like appear and disappear or whatever. I don't want to do anything like that, but I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick, and I'll be right back. back. Yeah, so like I said, I think I'm gonna add some more animals to the island, to this the villa, and kind of fill it out, and then have her talk to them. So that's gonna be that. That's the entire first session of the Odyssey chapter. And like I was saying, maybe it takes multiple sessions. Maybe, you know, I'm trying to cram too much in, but I'm gonna be a little more laid back about that going forward. It is what it is. It happens when it happens. And let's keep going. So they're gonna talk to Cersei, and during the chats, Cersei's gonna drop some hints about other islands. And we talked about it, and I've been kind of coming up with which ones I want to be like the early islands. I think we had one prep session where we just talked about islands. Bijo and I were just going back and forth about a bunch of island ideas. So one that I really like is a wandering island. So I thought I wrote more notes on it, but I guess I didn't. Let me check if I have any more. But the gimmick is that basically there's going to be a dragon turtle that's just swimming around in like a feeding loop. Basically, it's going around like on a regular interval. And Cersei's gonna say, you know, in passing, that, you know, oh, like there's the wandering island will be by tomorrow or whatever it is, and they'll be, what's going on with that? And I'm not sure if they'll have the boat by then. Maybe they won't. Maybe because it's only been a couple of days when I built the boat. But they can see, like in the distance, there is an island that's moving around. And Cersei might not know or might not care to say that it's a dragon turtle, but she'll mention it in passing, like when they're talking about what's going on, or when they start building their boat and she's talking about what's out there, or if they're pressing her to turn people back into to humans and dwarves and stuff, she'll say like, oh, you gotta do these things, and they'll start talking about other islands. So in passing, she's gonna mention this wandering island. And I have some maps for that, so let me go ahead and I might as well just create scenes just to start them, I think. So let's see, create scene in Odyssey. So hopefully I can find it now, because I'm curious where I actually put it. Open that. If I go to maps, Reddit, no, that's not right. Not my R maps. If I go to just maps and the base thing, and then Reddit, was there one in here? So yeah, I subscribe to a bunch of Patreons, and I try to remember who they are. I sort them in by folder of the artist, and then I don't know which one it is. This is gonna be annoying. Let me go ahead and pop over to Explorer and search. If I go to maps and I go, this is for turtle. Dragon turtle. It's in Limithron, I believe. We'll see if this is the one I'm talking about. Map. So it's, yeah, maps, Reddit, Limithron. Because I originally found Limithron through Reddit, and they have this. I don't think this is the one I'm thinking about though. Let's see. Dragon turtle hero or legend is the better one, I guess. No grid. Yeah, this isn't the one I was looking at. This is a pretty good one. It's like for a fight, and there's also like this dead one here. If I go to big icons, you can kind of see what's going on. That's not really what I was looking for. Why am I forgetting this? I also have this other one, Dragon Turtle Islands, which is pretty cool. It's like a family of them. I think I'm gonna do that one later. But there is, I had a Dragon Turtle map that was gonna be, man, well, like it had a tower on it and stuff like that. Let me see if I can find it. Search. Alright, not working for me. I could have sworn I had a better one. I had one with a tower in it. Maybe it's just saved. I have like a list of maps. Hold on. List of maps that I haven't actively imported my thing yet. Nope. Nope. I guess not. I don't know where I had this then. This is very frustrating. So it goes. Maps. Bee cave, old sloop. Wait, this is getting good. Okay, I think I know what to look for now. If I go back to maps. Yes, DDW. There you go. Okay, so here we go. So there are two maps here. There is this is the one I wanted. The dragon turtle, and there's one with a tower on it. So I figure I want to go with the one with the tower on it because it's more interesting. There's basically, it's the same map. They just remove some trees and added a tower. So let me just select that and save it. Right, go ahead and do it. So Wandering Island. And basically, I need to change the scale, obviously. This is kind of insanely big. But maybe I want it to be insanely big. So the gimmick here is that there are going to be dragon turtles all throughout the... This kind of looks like a regular turtle. It doesn't look very dragony. But they're going to be dragon turtles all throughout the archipelago, and they're going to matter a couple different times. So I want to establish very early that there are these wandering giant islands that exist. And this is like way too big. This is like what, 150 feet, and the tower itself is like 55 feet. So yeah, so I could shrink this maybe even in half. Depends on how big you really want it to be, right? So you set that to 200. That kind of halves all the distances. And now this tower is like 30 feet, but like 30 feet around. That seems kind of more sane. It's not like a huge tower. And the turtle itself is like 100 feet wide. That's pretty big at the shell. So yeah, so maybe just that. And again, this is going to be kind of circling the area, and you know, it comes by once every 28 days or whatever cycle you want it to be. And Cersei will say, oh yeah, it's due here, like clockwork, it's due in a couple days. And then maybe they don't have the means to get to it yet, or maybe they do, but long story short, this is going to be out there, and I got to figure what the heck do I want to put on it. So again, I put this tower here so that you see on the island there's like a ruined tower. So like this island is moving around, and it's not just an island. It's not just a small 100-foot island. It is a small island with a tower on it. And what the hell's in that tower? What do you want to do? Where are you going? What's going on with that? And we got to figure out what we want to put there. So if you got any ideas, let me know. Speak up. But, you know, I was thinking, like, do you want to have some sort of monster captured there in the tower? Or do you want there to be something undead on the thing? Something, like, guarding treasure there? Is there an island? Is there a McGuffin? Is there something interesting there that they want? So, and if something is there, is something guarding it? Because it would be pretty boring to just have an adventure, or, you know, a day where they sail over to this thing, they land on the island, and there's something there, and nothing happens. So I'm thinking, you know, maybe inside this ruin, maybe there's like a coffin, maybe there's something, or maybe there's an item or a sword and a stone or something like that, blah, 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 where when they take it, something bad happens. And there are bad spirits, or the dragon turtle gets angry or something like that. Something bad happens when they take the item. So that's pretty much where I'm vague in what I want to do with it, but I have the inklings of the ideas are beginning in my brain. So that's kind of what I want to do with that. So Cersei's going to mention this wandering... Kirkee. Gotta stop saying Cersei. Kirkee is going to mention this wandering island. And that's going to be one of the maps that I'm going to kind of hack away at over the next couple of days, next couple of weeks. Since we play every other week, I have like a month's worth of material prepared. The next two sessions are done. So I've got like a full month to kind of tweak a little bit. And the idea is that, again, once we get to the Odyssey part, I want to kind of get off the railroad. I've definitely been forcing my players along a path in these elf assaults and kind of guiding them and jumping through time really quickly. I just want to get out of it. I want to get to the Odyssey. And once I get here, I kind of want to let them just say, okay, these are the 4 islands you've heard about. What do you want to do? And they pick a direction, or they say, we want to go east. Fuck all those islands. We want to go east. And it is what it is. So yeah, that's kind of where I want to go. So I want to have a couple of things ready. I always want to have, like, you know, 3 or 4 islands ready and say, that's what you've heard about. What do you want to do? And then maybe also have some other islands that I didn't mention yet ready. So Cersei should probably mention 3 or 4 islands. One of them will be this wandering island, and then we can jump back into early islands. I definitely decided that Dinosaur Island is happening. So again, I think Cersei could ask for eggs. Basically, Cersei doesn't have any dinosaurs on her island, and maybe she needs to study them. And she's either heard of them, or she hasn't left her island. Either she's cursed to stay on her island, or she doesn't have the means to leave her island. Whatever it is, she's just stayed there, and she's heard about this island, and she wants some dinosaurs. So she can study them and maybe turn people into dinosaurs, blah, blah, blah. So, easy quest, go there, get some eggs. And then, you know, you can have a whole fun time on Dinosaur Island. And, you know, I have a bunch of maps that are just islands, but those, you know, they're really small, because when you cram an entire, you know, island into a map, there's only so much you can really do with it. So I think I'm going to use a couple of those where, like, oh, this is a sea fort, and it's a cool sea fort battle map. At, you know, it's just the entire island is visible there. But also for things like the Dinosaur Island, I'll just say, like, you know, I'll use random maps, like, you know, kind of what I did here for, you know, the Kirkee Island. You know, you're washed up. This is one map, one section of the island. Like, there's no whole island map. I don't have a map for Kirkee's Island. I don't have it. It doesn't exist. But there's a couple points of interest. There's the beach, there's the forest, which I'll make, there's the pig hunt, there's Villa. And, like, there's more island out there, but I don't have a map for it, and there's very little interesting things there. Like, you walk around in the forest the more, you find more forest and more oddly calm animals. But, you know, it is what it is. So yeah, Wandering Island. That's one. Dinosaur Island. I don't have maps for it, like I said. I do want to come up with a couple of them, though. I want to have, like, you know, maybe not a beach one. I don't want to have every island have, like, a beach encounter. I don't want to beat that into their head. Like, every time you go to an island, you're going to fight on the beach. So maybe for the dinosaur one, I won't do that. But I'll have, like, a bunch of jungly type scenes. Just, like, a bunch of different jungle maps where you're walking around looking for these dinosaur eggs, and you bump into dinosaurs. You got a bunch of raptors over here, and there's no nest of eggs. They were hunting. And you go over here, you look for that, go boom, boom, boom. And that'll be it. And then I want to have something big and scary be there. Like, not actually engaging them and hurting them, but, like, they should see, like, a T-Rex or whatever the analog is in the Pathfinder rule. I haven't looked at the dinosaurs. But I haven't done that yet. I will do that. But that's one of the ones she's going to mention. So again, the Dinosaur Island is going to be a big one. The Wandering Island. And then, let's see, we got to have, like, two more in my head. The Minotaur / Crete one, I don't think I really want to mention that. That's kind of one I have, you know, again, that's another Odyssey one, so I don't want to stack the deck too high with too many Odyssey things right off the bat. I also kind of want them either to stumble on it or go there looking for something else. I don't want to tell them, oh, yeah, go to the place with the maze. I want them to kind of be tricked or trapped on it. Like, they go onto a beach, or they go into this place and they find runes. They go to investigate these runes, and the runes teleport them down into the maze. And that's how they get you into the maze. Like, it's not just, you know, they don't just lock you in a basement somewhere. It's like a magical type maze. So I don't want to be mentioning that. I don't want Cersei to mention that one. The Weaponsmith is also an interesting one. I don't want it to be too nearby. I want that to be something they find a bit later. But the gimmick is I kind of want... there's not going to be, like, a real shop in the Odyssey, so there's not, like, an empire. There's not, like, you don't take all the loot. You don't take all the leather armor you got off things you killed or whatever and sell it somewhere. I am planning to have on, like, the far end of the archipelago, there might be frost giants that do have, like, an empire, but I don't want them to be... they're not going to be at the beginning places, and they are going to be not very friendly to the PCs. So that's for later. That's much higher adventure type stuff, but that's kind of in the back of my mind. Like frost giants and cloud giants and stuff like that, fire giants. So I want to have this Weaponsmith available maybe somewhat early, but not in the first couple islands, which is basically like you bring him loot and he can upgrade your weapons specifically. And I think when I was talking to Bijo, like, they do have a rule system in Pathfinder, which I thought was interesting. It's not a subsystem though. It's go back to the rules index maybe. They have it's in the Game Mastery Guide, like the variant rules. That's what you're looking for. Magic items, or was it like there's something scaling or something like that? Variant abilities, blah 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 blah. Maybe it is magic items variants. Like basically where things automatically scale. Yeah, automatic bonus progression. So it removes the item bonus for cells and DCs to provide magic items, and replaces with new kind of potency to reflect. So basically, like you scale up. Like you just get your attack potency +1, skill potency. So like you get the weapon scales up with you. I think Shirag is using this in the game he's running. The guy that plays G-Pain. He also runs a campaign for his friends in Canada, and I think he's doing something similar there. And basically, this is if you're too lazy to keep giving out weapons, or if you're too lazy to give out rune stones, or if you don't want your players to have to go and like upgrade their axe or get a new one. If you're too lazy to figure all that out, you can kind of just make the weapon scale automatically. I don't really want to do that. I don't know. I mean, it seems like you could, especially if if you gave them, if they went to an island and they earned like a weapon that scaled or something like that makes sense. I don't want people to just like, I don't want Franco's sword he started with just start getting better. So I don't think I'm going to go with that. And I think what I'm going to do to get around that is basically have this volcano type island with a weaponsmith there, either an Azer, and that is ripped straight out of Legacy of Fire. I think it's in Kakashan. In one of the chapters, they basically have this Azer who lives on this volcano island, and it's again directly ripped off. And basically, he's a forge master, and you can, in the adventure, I'm not going to spoil too much about it, but you can use him to get a weapon that is useful for the end of the game. I kind of just want to rip that off. So I was thinking I could use an Azer, or if I wanted to change, if I wanted to be not so directly ripping it off, I could use like a fire giant. And that would also hint at the fact that there are giants, and I want that to be a big deal. Like there are a bunch of giants in the Odyssey, and in Greek mythology in general. I do want to have Polyphemus, like the Cyclops. I want to have that sort of encounter. It's fairly early in the campaign as well. So I thought maybe I just jump right into it and have a fire giant there, who is like surprisingly even-tempered for a fire giant. Like it doesn't make a lot of sense in my head that a fire giant would be there, willing to trade and make you weapons, unless he was like cast out from giant society or something. Like there are ways you can get around it. There are ways I can do it. Or maybe some sort of dragon-like thing. I don't know if there's a dragon-born type thing in Pathfinder lore. I have to look that up. Maybe some sort of a dragon type thing. But the idea is that this guy is friendly, or at least neutral, and he's willing to upgrade their weapons and do stuff like that if they hang out there and bring him loot. Basically, you can drop off loot there, and he's like he exchanges loot for upgrades to weapons. What he does with it is, I don't know, we can just hand wave it away, but we got plans, we got ideas. So again, I don't think I want to mention that one. I don't think that's one Kirkee. Stop saying Cersei. I don't think Kirkee wants to deal with. This dragon turtle Trescow, and that's for much later. I love this idea. I'm not going to go into it now, though. We talked about it in the other one. Dryad lumber in the boat isn't specifically an island idea. It was something we thought maybe the boat they build could have like basically there's a dryad that was a tree, or a soul is somehow bound to a tree, and when they build their boat, they accidentally do that, and then that could be something that bothers them later. I don't know. Polyphemus, again, I don't want to do too much of the Odyssey too fast, but maybe... Nah, I don't want this one to be mentioned. I want this to be just... I want them to stumble on it. One of the things we talked about before, too, as well, if I go here to... I go back to the scene test. I'm still very keen on the idea of them maintaining their own map, and this is kind of just something I was sketching around with. So, like, basically, you have something here for Cersei's, and then you have, like, you can have like tokens basically where you can drag them and say like, okay, so we sailed 5 days from Cersei's Island and we found this magic frog, this giant frog island, or whatever it is, and I need to make all of these individual tokens, which is kind of annoying, but we'll figure it out. So yeah, so I want the players to be able to kind of maintain their own map, or at least even if I have to maintain it, make it so that it's rough and it's not to scale, it's not accurate, and they can be wrong. So like they think they flew, they think they sailed 5 days this way. They finally owned, but it's actually over there, or they heard Cersei say, "Oh, you go north, you find the giant frog island," and they go north and they bump into some other island because they didn't sail properly, or the wind knocked them, whatever happens. Or I want to have the viewers get involved and have them be like pesky demigods pushing people around and stuff like that. But long story short, you could be heading to the giant frog island and you get blown away and you end up on Polyphemus' island, and maybe you don't know it's not the giant frog island. you think you got where you're going, and you actually are on Polyphemus' island, and that's when you have that adventure. So that Polyphemus island is kind of one that I want to have be like that. I'm gonna write make a note of that, like stumble on, not described. It's like there's islands all around, and you bump into it, and you look around, and there's goats or sheep, or whatever. Polyphemus said sheep. And then, you know, we have the Polyphemus Island. And again, if you've read the Odyssey, he's got sheep, he has cheese in his cave, and they get trapped in the cave and they have to get out. So yeah, Genie Island, I keep coming back to this one as I really think it'd be cool. I don't know how to do it well and to balance it, and it has the potential to go crazy off the rails. Basically, if there's an island with genies on it that can actually grant wish, first off, you have to have an interesting reason to be there, an interesting thing. Because the end goal is that it'd be really cool to give players a wish. And then, especially very low-level characters, it's like you're giving them a huge boon or huge thing. And I think the Pathfinder 2 wish is actually easier or not as good, not as powerful. I mean, obviously it's powerful, but it's not as crazy, game-breaking as the Pathfinder 1 version. But it is still kind of, it's a wish. You should be able to, you know, say what you want to say, and get what you get. And I kind of like the idea of that being a very low-level thing where, like, everybody gets a wish and, you know, see where it takes us. But again, it can go crazy off the rails. You have no idea what the answer is. And I still don't have a compelling reason to be there. Like, why would they go? Why would the genies care about these low-level goblins? I guess the gimmick is that genies can't grant their own wishes. They can't get other genies that make wishes. They have to have a mortal, or whatever you want to call it, make a wish. So maybe there are, like, warring genie clans there. Like, you know, there's this feels too much like Kakashan again. Maybe there are, like, fire genies fighting wind genies, and, you know, the Jinn and the Crete, and they're fighting. And when they get there, they can bump into either side or both sides, and they want them to do wishes for them. They want them to, you know, use our wishes, like, to help us win this battle, and then we'll give you one or something like that. If you do this, then that. And the goblins find themselves in the middle of this horrifyingly powerful battle, because, I mean, I don't know what a Crete are in this one, but if I go, like, if I go to Genie, is it going to give me a bunch of, like, the category? Because that'd be nice. I like how the bestiary has categories like that. Like, I saw, like, NPC things. So if I go to Genie... Yeah, see? This looks great. So, Jinn... Crete... Man, Jinn are much lower level than fire genies, huh? I feel like that was reversed in the other one. In 2E. PF. No. D20 PF. SRD. Real quick, I just want to see, like... Jinn. No, I guess I was wrong. Oh, I guess because they have nobles, right? They have, like, noble... Yeah, there you go. So, there you go. That's what it is. Okay, so do they have a noble Jinn? At least 5 levels higher. Okay. So maybe they don't have... Or maybe they do. I don't think they have one statted up. So I guess you have to take one and make it... You just add, like, 5 levels to it or whatever it is. But yeah, so there could be, like, noble Jinn fighting non-noble Crete or something like that. What's that look like? Cool. I love a Crete. But yeah, so that could be a cool thing. If there's a big ongoing battle on this island of these genies, and they, like, I want the land to be, like, hyper scarred with powerful magics. You know, a big battle that happened here at some point. And there's, like, a stalemate, and they basically are wanting other people to come here and wish themselves to power. Wish themselves to dominance over this island. Genie Viziers, there you go. So yeah, that might be an idea. Basically, have a fight between these two people. I don't know, they'd have to be, why are they bound to the island is the first question, and why are they fighting, but yeah, like, they hate each other. I know Crete and Genie hate each other. So yeah, I think I might go with that. Take some notes about that real quick. Early islands. Jinn and Crete are fighting an old war. Bound to the island. Terrain. Discard. Powerful. Effects. Shard. Fire. Etc. Etc. And yeah, that's kind of the gimmick. And then the party stumbles into this war, finds one or both sides, finds members from one, and are enticed to make wishes on behalf of them in return. Can't spell. For one of their own. And it's also be interesting if you didn't give them each a wish, if you just gave them like a wish and the party had to deal with it. Then it's also less breaking. Like if you give everybody a wish, they're gonna each min-max something, or they're all gonna do something horrible. But if you give them one wish, and then what if they wish to go home or something? Again, now you're completely off the rails. So yeah, in my mind, I'd be like, oh, it'd be cool. They can wish for something, blah blah blah. But yeah, I don't want to give them a way out, because then the campaign goes over there. Or you could always say that they can't do that. Like somehow wish doesn't do that. They can't shift. I've already kind of ruled in my head that like stuff like plane shift and teleport don't work through the magical storm that they're in. So there's no way to teleport out of here. You got to do the McGuffin essentially. So they can say that. They can like in similarly to be like however they're trapped on the island, they will say like, oh, we can't get out of here. We can't do that. We can't teleport you out. But that would be an idea. And then they have these Jinn and Efreet, and then they would one of them would eventually win, and then possibly be able to leave the island after the other one was defeated. I don't know. But yeah. And these are like horribly powerful. So how would they even interact with that? I mean, they're going to talk. They're going to make wishes. They're not going to be able to actually fight any of these things. Even if they came here when they were like 3rd or 4th level, they still wouldn't be able to really join in a battle. They would essentially only be there to make wishes. Which could be interesting. I mean, I don't know. How would I feel about that as a player? If I was playing an session and like there was a huge battle, a high level battle taking place near me, and I couldn't be part of it. Like I was just like, I can't actually fight. I'm not shooting arrows into the battle, but I'm there. I'm helping by wishing. I'm just role playing during a battle. I don't know if I like that. So I don't know. Maybe you have to wait till they're higher level, but I kind of like that as an idea. Might keep it in my back pocket then. So yeah, all we have right now is Dinosaur Island and the Roaming Island. The Dream Island is cool in that I like the idea that like I could take a map and use the FX Master stuff to go ahead and do like the underwater effect. So like basically I like this idea that you go to this island and there's a hag there or something, and she has nightmare type magic where when you fall asleep on her island, you enter like a dream realm. Or maybe she can knock you unconscious and you fall into a dream realm. So I like the idea of people entering a dream state. Like they go to the island, they fall asleep, or maybe some magic puts them to sleep, and I turn on the wobblies. and they basically are in a dream. They can tell they're in a dream. I like the idea of them knowing. I don't want to do like you play for an hour and then someone is killed and then you wake up and you realize you were in a dream. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do Inception. I don't want to have multiple wake-ups. I don't want to have it like that. I like the idea of them knowing they're in a dream. Like basically you fall asleep and like you rise as like a spectral version of yourself. You look down and you see yourself sleeping there, but you realize that you're in some sort of weird dream space. This island is special. And then you can basically go ahead and do something. Like if you were going to go, I don't know, infiltrate a castle or whatever it is, you were going to do something and you were resting before you went to do it, you basically can go there in your dream state. You can do all this weird stuff and you have all these weird powers. Maybe everybody can fly in the dream state, or maybe everybody can walk through walls in the dream state. And you can, use this to scout the castle out or whatever it is, scout out whatever again, you have to have a mission on the island. You have to go be on there for a reason. And yeah, so they move throughout this dream state. They scout out the castle, and then maybe the hag senses them and shoots them back or something like that. And then they get the chance to actually do the real scene. Now they wake up and they are either rested or maybe they have some effect from being horrified in the night from the dream. But then they get to use that knowledge and execute the plan. And then maybe it could be like a more harrowing adventure. It could be a very difficult fight that they have already seen. Like they know where the enemies are standing, or they've seen the layout of the castle. So we could do something like that. So I like the idea of the Dream Island. I'm not sure, and also I thought maybe it'd be cool if they saw entirely different creatures, so like kind of the opposite of what I just said, which is, I guess, not very good. But like, if they're going through the dream realm, maybe there are other creatures that exist only in the dream realm. So it's not just like they're not just scouting. Maybe when they're moving through and searching through the castle, they see some sort of like bug type monster or something like that. There's an episode of Stargate that's like this, where basically if you everything is like phased out 180 degrees or whatever it is. I don't know the exact terminology they use in the episode, but basically like there is an entire universe of things that are just so phased out, like the exact opposite or whatever it is, that you can't sense them or they can't interact with us in any meaningful way. But like they go through the Stargate and they end up out of phase, and now they see like all these giant flying bugs and like grub looking things all over the place. They've always existed here. You never noticed. So something similar like that, where basically in the dream state you're walking around and there are like dream monsters, or whatever you want to call it. So you're moving through in the dream stuff, you're scouting stuff out, but then you encounter like, I don't want to say Wendigo because they're super powerful, but you encounter some sort of dream monster that isn't real and is doing the same things you do. Like if you can fly and you can move through walls, you can be fighting a rust monster that can move through walls, and that's horrifying. But again, if you die in the dream, you don't die in real life. Maybe something just happens to you. I don't want to make it so that it's like that. But I like that idea. I like the idea of coming with an island. So I'm gonna put a star here. I like this island a lot. Is this one Kirkee should mention? I don't know. I need to have more stuff ready, so I'm leaning yes. Maybe she just mentions the island of dreams and nightmares. There's a hag, and maybe Kirkee doesn't like her. Kirkee could also ask them to get something from her. Like, that hag has a staff, or that hag has... Yeah, okay, that's an idea. The hag has a staff or some item that Kirkee wants. And of course the players could always just go there and take it, whatever it is. But yeah. But I like that idea. And Kirkee could... I don't know, how much does Kirkee know about it? How much does Kirkee know about the dream effects? Not much. I don't want him to know much. Like, I want it to be kind of novel and confused. I don't want to just explain everything I just said to you guys. I like the idea of them, like, going there, maybe having some initial fights, and then resting. Because part of me thinks, like, okay, she can just snap her fingers, make people fall asleep. That's not super fun. You don't want to just be walking around and then you fall asleep. I think it'd be cool if the island was large enough and involved enough that they would go through a couple of fights and then say, okay, we need to make camp. And then when they make camp, they fall asleep, and then they just are all of a sudden just awake in their spirit form or dream form, whatever you want to call it. And then the next question in my mind is, if someone was on watch, what would happen? Because they wouldn't be asleep. Yeah. What about people on watch? I could always just say that the guy on watch falls asleep too. Or I could say that PCs not present are on watch. That's a way around it. So basically, like, if Even doesn't show up that day, you can say, oh yeah, Even and Funbar, who aren't actually playing that day, they're on watch during this time. And we'll just kind of hand wave it. Because it's a thing I want to happen. So, like, obviously the player's gonna say, oh, you know, we set up this watch, and I'll just say, oh yeah, by the way, Even and G-Pain are there, and they're on watch. So like, you know, they would wake up, they go to sleep, they'd wake up in their spirit forms, and they'd see Even and G-Pain on watch, and they couldn't interact with them. Like, and they're like ethereal or whatever. They're out of phase, so they can put their hands through them and stuff like that. Whatever it is. So yeah, they're not there. And then they can go and mess around, or they could not. Like, again, I don't want to kind of do it for them. I don't want to explain what it is. I want them to just play around with stuff. I want them to enter this phase, and then realize that, like, you know, when they're walking, that like they walk through something, or they go through their friends, or they feel insubstantial. They feel like they can float or whatever. I think Puck would like that because his oracular curse is involved with that. But then, you know, when they push off a little bit, they realize they can fly. They can just glide around in 3 dimensions, and then all of a sudden they're like flying over valleys and forests and looking for the keep that they're the hag lives in, or whatever, the shack the hag lives in. I have a bunch of hag shack maps, which would be pretty cool. Found a couple of those. I like that's an idea. So castle versus a hag shack. Let's see. So yeah, so she could be like in a swamp or something, and they'll be like, you know, obviously you got to walk through the swamp when you're awake, but you know, you can float over the swamp. You could look through it if you want, in your spirit form, and then go to the hag shack, see it, and then realize that you can't touch the thing you want. Like, you found it, like you see the hag in the shack, you see her resting, or you see her around the shack doing something, and there's like a staff laying against the wall in her shack, and you got to get over there. You got to get and do it. You got to take it, and yeah, and then you wake up and you have that knowledge, and you have to act on it, and then you realize that shit is serious, and you have to actually do the fights. And the fights, again, could be harder because of the presumed knowledge you have of things. Allow them to scout and learn things while ethereal. Yeah, so I like this better than kind of the Inception sort of thing, where you enter dream mode, then you play a scene out, and you actually fight, you actually die, or whatever it is. You actually exist, you actually do things, and then you wake up and it didn't happen. I played in a game like that, where someone ran a session like that, and I think we did the same like fight 3 times. My character was a druid that was kidnapped by a hag, or a witch, or I think it was a witch. And basically, the players are coming to rescue me, and the witch had all these spells on me, including like, I forget what it's called, like, not cause pain. It was something like that, though. It just did a bunch of non-lethal damage to me, like, at her will, if I ran away, basically. So, like, I couldn't run away. I couldn't run. And they had to come and get me and either remove curse or kill her so that her spell got off me. And, like, they tried, like, 3 times. And I think the second time, they were doing well, and then, like, all of a sudden it just ended. They woke up. Like, so, like, the first time, I think someone died and they woke up. The second time they came and it was going well, and the witch did something and they woke up. And then, like, the third time it was real. And after the second time, like, during the second time, we were all kind of grumbling about it. And then after the second time, when the third time happened, we were not happy. But it is what it is. So yeah, I don't want to be doing that. But I do like the idea of, like, you're in dream mode and you become ethereal, and maybe you have like an ethereal fight against some other type of weird ethereal creature, but you're not fighting the same things you're going to fight tomorrow during the real day. You're not fighting the hag and whoever is guarding her stuff, if she has like trolls or whatever it is in her pocket. But yeah, so I like that a lot. I like that idea. I like the idea of fighting weird stuff in dream mode. Bijo was also saying that maybe while they were ethereal, they could have other powers. Like, we talked about, maybe you could float around, move through things, stuff like that. But maybe you could also, like, through the power of dreams, you could imagine things, basically. You can imagine things into being. Maybe you could use like higher level spell slots, or maybe we let people use meta magic feats or something. We come up with some cool rule to benefit people through dreaming. Or maybe we just allow them to use hero points in crazy weird ways here on this island. You can say, like, I'm going to spend a hero point and I want to make it so that my sword does fire damage for X rounds or whatever it is. You kind of just leave it open to interpretation and just roll with it. You figure out what it is and you just roll with it. As long as it's not crazy insane, you just kind of go with it. So I like that. I like the idea of the Dream Island. I like that. I think Kirkee could mention that one. That could be one Kirkee gives a quest for. So that's 3. And some other ones we have here is the General Voodoo Island. It's kind of broad. The Ravenous Island I really like. Just again, I love the movie Ravenous. I like the idea of it's like a small village of people, and this will be rare. So like all the islands we're going to, it's like a crazy one person living on the island, or a crazy small group of people on this island, or an island full of dinosaurs. And when they get to this Ravenous Island, it's going to be like a small village of people. And I don't know what kind of people. I don't want them to just be like humans or anything. I want everything here to be weird. I want the weird. I want like the outside worlds who have never really gotten here, and maybe there's a handful of humans and stuff like that. But I want it to be like completely separate. I want this to be like the realm of monsters, and there's like, oh, there's sirens and there's fae, and all those people, all those things live here, and some of them have gotten out, and that's why you heard all the stories about them. That's why the sailors talk about sirens, but like they're from here, and I don't want a town of humans basically. So we figure it out, whatever it is. You have an island of somethings, and they're basically they're like Wendigos from Ravenous. They gain power by eating people, but they've settled into some kind of balance. Like they have Lycans or whatever it is, or I guess the Lycan Island is what I'm saying about that. So the Ravenous Island, I guess it doesn't make much sense because if they gain strength by eating people, the more people eat, the stronger you get. Why do they even have a society, and how are they growing? So that's the question. So in my head, I was mixing up those 2 islands. So let's skip the Ravenous and go to the Lycan one. So again, the idea here is that there's werewolves, or whatever you want to call them, on the island, and there's a small village of people, and they're useful in some way. Maybe they can repair or upgrade the ship, is the idea we had. So like you get there and you find out that there's a small island with a dock on it, and they are actually like something of navigators, and they have a small society. Maybe it's worth selling stuff at or something like that. So it's a place you can go and visit and come back to. And the idea is that one time you come back, it's a full moon, and the society either is all Lycans, or there are a handful of Lycans there that they kind of restrain during full moons, and obviously some get out. So maybe they visit this island a couple times, and then one time they come and it's a full moon, and then they're told to stay on the ship no matter what they hear, and then there's horrible stuff going on. So I like the Lycan Island idea. I don't think it's something I want Kirkee to mention, though. I don't think it's something I want in the beginning. I don't want her to say like, oh yeah, there's a village, because I figure they would die for the village. I want it to be something that either they stumble on or heard about later. Stumble on or hear about when their ship needs repairs or upgrades. Yeah. Like someone will mention it, like, oh, I see that your ship has a ding on it, blah blah blah. Amazonian Island is a kind of idea. We were thinking originally, like, are there some sort like race of females that reproduce by themselves, or maybe you could go with leshies or plants or something like that, and basically have like a whole island of leshies with super poisonous plants and stuff like that. And that seems like a really easy hook for Kirkee as well. Kirkee could say, I need you to get me herbs from this island. And maybe some of the herbs are leshies. maybe some of the herbs are actual leshies. Yeah, so I'll make a note here. And yeah, so Kirkee may want herbs from this island. Some of the herbs may be from what? Leshy corpses. So like, are you going to kill a sentient plant creature to bring Kirkee back some herbs? I like that, and that's another easy island. That's basically you take a bunch of forest or jungle encounter maps and slap them together and throw leshies at them. That's pretty much it. So I like that. I like that a lot. I think that's what I'm going to go with. So basically, my goal for the session planning today is to come up with what islands I want to have. I want to have like the one. I think I came up with 4: Wandering Island, Amazon Island, Dream Island, and did I not do another one? Nah. Wandering Island? I don't want that, don't want that, don't want that. Don't want that. The Genie one we talked about a lot, and I don't want to do it. Dinosaur Island, 2. Dream Island, 3. Amazon Island, 4. So this will be the 4 that Cersei will mention in passing. And I'll have to figure out how to mention them without just enumerating them. I want to mention them in passing, or if people are asking questions. I don't want to just say, like, here's the 4 quests you can do. I want her to say, like, oh, if you're looking for... If you want me to turn that dwarf back, you gotta get me something, and give like 2 items. Like, oh, you can go to the Amazonian island or whatever. You can go get this herbs from this Leshy's or the dinosaur egg over there. So yeah. So now that I have these 4, I think I have another planning session on Tuesday, session prep session. So I think on Tuesday I'll start filling those in. So I think, like, basically I don't want to spend time streaming like this looking through maps. And stuff like that. I figure that's kind of tedious and boring, on top of already being tedious and boring because it's prep sessions. But yeah, so I think maybe I'll look ahead a little bit and start scraping some stuff out, and then from there I'll actually start statting out some of these islands and getting them going. But yeah, I think those are the 4 I'm going to go with. Like at the bottom I put gelatinous cube. This isn't an island here. I just like to use one. It's one of my favorite monsters. My top monster of all time is owlbear. I love throwing owlbears at people. They're low enough that you get to use them in a lot of different games, a lot of different campaigns. But gelatinous cubes are also just really, really fun. And I haven't used one in Pathfinder 2 yet, so I'm excited to to get to it. But yeah. So I've got like 20 minutes left, but I think I'm just going to call it here. I don't want to just start statting out some of these islands. Yeah, I think I pretty much got the 4 that I'm going to go with. I'm going to think about them some more and kind of get to it next prep session. But that's pretty much it. That's where I'm at. That's the next session. We talked about the next session I was planning. We talked about the session after that. And basically, hopefully we can wrap up within the next... I hope it's within the next 1 session, but probably 1.5 sessions. I'm going to wrap up the elf stuff, move on to the Odyssey. And then from there, just start going crazy. And I'm ahead of it now a little bit. Again, I feel like I'm like a month ahead of prep. So next time we meet on Tuesday, I'll bang out a bunch of these islands. And I figure each of these islands might be a session. Like each one of them could easily be 3 hours, if not more. So once I start, getting those islands mapped out, get a couple of different maps for each island, get a couple of encounters for each island, just start working through that, getting like a good backlog of islands I want to do, and then just start knocking them out and just basically stay ahead of it. Make sure that they always have several options to go to, and just go from there. And keep coming up with islands ideas, keep working through them, and then scaling things up higher and higher level as they get more and more experienced. Like I said before, they are now 2nd level. Let me see if I go over here. If they're 2nd level, I don't know what... They don't have a lot of experience yet. They're not, like, close to leveling again. They've got 1230. And even though they're separated here, I'm still separating them. But in my, like I said last prep session, I've decided to do away with that. Everybody is going to be the same level all the time, because I don't want to deal with the plus and minuses of all that garbage. So 1230, they're whatever 800 experience away from leveling up again. So they probably won't get it from the chase, and from this they're not going to be 3rd level before they get into the Odyssey. Maybe during the Kirkee session or the one after that they'll hit 3rd, and we'll just kind of go from there. Or if something goes weird and we decide that after this they need more time talking to the elves, I don't know what's going to go on with that. Like, if they want to deal with the mayor or they want to do something else, if I feel like I can't just jump to the Odyssey, then we will figure something else out, and maybe they get some more experience there. But that's it. That's what I'm going to call it tonight. So thanks for watching. If you check me out on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, all the things, jmosky, MOSKIE, that's my handle on all of them. I post all the VODs there of all these prep sessions, as well as the actual game sessions we play every other week. That's pretty much it. Yeah, thanks for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe on YouTube, follow here, whatever all the doobly-doos. I'm not good at marketing myself that way yet, but yeah, if you like what you see, just hang out. I love talking to people. We didn't get many people today in the chat, But I do like talking to people about their games and what they think about what's going on in mine. I like bouncing ideas off people and trying to figure out cool ways to balance things or good ideas that other people might have. So yeah, stop on by and let me know what's going on. Thanks for watching.